We're about to discover a whole lot of craziness going over on at WarnerMedia this morning on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Big Hollywood news drops in the middle of the night. We may have some answers why, as we're joined by the one and only Culture Casino.
Hey, good morning.
And the boss man, Andre, is here as well, as I'm Tom Connors. Welcome, everybody. How you doing, Andre?
I'm good, thank you. And I hope you are all excellent, everyone out there as well. Culture, how are you?
Oh, very good, very good. I woke up feeling refreshed for a change this morning. And interestingly enough, the last subject that I talked about before going to bed was this transaction. I could not believe this was moving forward and the speed at which it did. So, yeah, I woke up to some good news. I hope everybody else as well.
Yes, let's hope so.
Very interesting.
Carry on, Tom.
I was just going to say, very interesting events transpiring overnight. And again, like I said, I think Culture will give us some insight as to why. But you were saying, Andre, my bad.
Yes, we are going to get into all of that in detail. First, I just want to say greetings to everyone. Natasha, our ever loyal wrench, points out happy Norwegian Constitution Day to Andre. Oh, thank you. Yes, it's true. Today is the Norwegian Constitutional Day, 17th of May, every single year. So thank you for remembering. Really appreciate that. And we have Coffee Lover 239 in the chat says hi. And Total Party Skills became a new YouTube member. Awesome. Thank you. Really, really appreciate that. Valiant Renegade here is here and says good morning to both us and to Culture, as does the Jack of all Casuals. Yeah. And we have many, many other members joining us here today as well. We have Jakub Romanski is here. And we have Thundercats Ho. Is it who? Oh,
Thundercats Ho!
Thundercats Ho. I actually never saw Thundercats.
You never saw Thundercats?
Wow. No, I didn't. Well, I bet you would have enjoyed it. But I'm sure I would have.
It was very much in the vein of Masters of the Universe. In fact, it could probably be an argument to be made that it was heavily influenced by Masters of the Universe. But I mean, it definitely has its own aspects to it as well. But it was fun.
Yeah. Well, very cool. And Zontar clarifies something we were slightly unsure about on Friday, where he says Annie is Korean animation. Sorry for not clarifying.
Oh, no, but now I know. Now I know if somebody says it. Yeah.
Yes, now we know. So then anime is Japanese and Annie is Korean. Okay, I'll try to keep that in mind as I watch neither of the two. But yeah, that's just me.
And to me, Annie is a little orphan.
Yeah. And Darius Münchhausen sent us a super sticker, so thank you so much for that. And
there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is RoboCop.
Yeah. And Stephen Otten says, "Hail, Andre, Tom, Casino, Wrenches, and Midnighters. Let's delete the DCEU and start over. Well, under new management, you never know what might happen, and we are going to get into that. Do not worry about that in the slightest." Now I have to get to, this is the part where I have to go and get into the classic super chats, the ones that were sent like 3 minutes ago, because they're already away from the chat window, but that's fine because I can see them here behind the scenes. Alex Asara wonders, how will this most likely affect DC and MK, probably Mortal Kombat, etc. going forward? No more Hamada burgers? Granted, it's early, but the Snyderverse at least has a chance, he wonders. Yeah, just hold that thought, because we're going to get into it. And then Roger H. sent us a thumbs up super sticker, while Darius Münchhausen sent us popcorn, so thank you so much for that. And Gypsy Warrior also wonders, will this have any effect on DC or the Snyderverse? And we do not know which effects, but
could
possibility is there, so we shall see. And HyperGyver2 says, good morning, guys. Manga? Will we also be discussing Jerry Conway getting taken to task by Japan for his stupidity towards manga? Well, we may get into that a little bit later in the show, but that's going to be the main topic on tonight's Toxic Femininity. So absolutely be sure to check that out. We'll get back into that later on. Then
speaking of toxic, go ahead.
Yeah. And then the Seaman also says, does AT&T dropping Warner mean they can distance themselves from the expensive JJ universe and subsequent failure of it? Well, the JJ DC universe hasn't happened yet, and the deal with him is still going to be in place. But again, we're going to get into all of the DC implications as we get along. But before then, I'm going to deal with the last couple of super chats that came up on the screen. STR Red Wolf says, missed from Friday. For those wondering about Robotech and Macross. Macross is the original anime and manga that was used to make Robotech for the US.
Yes.
And then there was another one that flicked by there. Tom, can you bring that one back again?
Let's see if I can find it. I had the Seaman when we got that one, right?
Yeah, we got that one.
There
was another.
No, I think that was it. You can double check, but unless StreamYards is messing with me.
Okay. Yeah, no, probably it was just me seeing something twice, so that should be fine. But with that, let us get into the main story of today, and this is right now across all of the financial newspapers of, well, certainly the US and increasingly the world. So let's begin with the article that was in Variety. Tom, can you get that up on screen? There you have it. Perfect. So I can read some of the headlines from here and then culture. I really want to hear your take on it. Now, the headline here is David Zaslav to lead combined WarnerMedia Discovery as landmark deal is confirmed. That's the headline right there. And of course, then it's a really lengthy article. Culture, do you want to take us through the Cliff Notes version of it?
Sure. So for about an hour long press briefing, Stankey and Zaslav spoke. They talked at length about the combined venture. Again, this is a merger of WarnerMedia with Discovery, creating essentially just a new entity. You'll end up with the Discovery owning a minority stock for their shareholders of about 29%, and you'll end up with AT&T stockholders holding 71% of the shares for their stockholders in this new venture. The board will be broken down in that AT&T gets 7 seats, or to select the initial 7 seats, and Discovery Network will be able to select the other 6. The combined media entity here will bring them to second place in comparison to the other studios around them, just below Disney. In fact, the way this could work out is they could end up growing beyond Disney because they also control, obviously, the streaming platforms that we've talked about. And it's speculated that they may be bundling the two products together between HBO Max and Discovery Plus. So there's a lot to this deal. But ultimately, this allows AT&T to shed, it does essentially shed a whole lot of debt, because I think $85 million of their debt was their acquisition of WarnerMedia, going back a couple of years ago. Now, Discovery did the same thing maybe a year or two ago themselves when they acquired Scripps to add more channels to their lineup. So now you have this giant entity that pretty much covers sports, unscripted cable channels like HGTV and the like, and essentially this puts them firmly in direct competition with Disney, and AT&T both chasing Netflix. So this, in my opinion, is beneficial to everybody, and it solves some problems for AT&T primarily because they've discovered they can't shed some of the pieces that would help them, get rid of some debt, which would of course be CNN, which they could not get rid of. So why not just combine all these entities into one and make them essentially the second biggest player in the studio, or the Hollywood system anyway. So
exactly, because to clarify and to answer Michael Miller's question, did WB get rid of WB or buy Discovery? The answer is neither. What they're doing is that WB seems to be partially divesting themselves of WarnerMedia, but only partially, in that a new entity is created. And in this entity, AT&T will then put WarnerMedia, whereas Discovery will put, Discovery into this new entity. The name of this new entity will probably announce later in the week. They obviously have a name, they just haven't announced it yet, probably because they want to conquer some more headlines and stuff like that. The ownership structure of this new entity is that AT&T will control, what was it, 70%, while Discovery will control 30%. So AT&T are the majority owners, but they will still receive a huge cash infusion from this operation. And as you pointed out, Culture, before the show, the market responds by the AT&T share price being the one that increases.
They got the bump, and Discovery headed downward, which again is surprising. Usually in these kinds of mergers, both stocks rise, but I mean, the big winner here is AT&T, according to Wall Street. So.
I can kind of see why, because the way that I see it is, I would imagine that the perception there in the marketplace is that AT&T are the ones that benefit because they're the majority owners of the new company. So WarnerMedia just got augmented with Discovery. That's the perception. No one sees this as, whoa, Discovery just got this whole superhero Warner big picture catalog. No, it's like Discovery is the additional little seasoning to make the HBO Max package more interesting. I believe that's the perception that will largely explain how the market responds. Now, regardless of that, I do think that this is something that's going to mutually benefit everyone, because although they had to pay for it, they are now suddenly invested, whether only by 30%, they're now suddenly in the movie and entertainment business too, as opposed to just a reality TV business.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what Discovery has become.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. I mean, Zaslav we were talking about it backstage early. We only had a couple minutes, but this man is efficient. Zaslav is efficient. And when they brought in the Scripps Networks, he basically divided the two companies and took talent from each side, which the natural offshoot of any of these kinds of mergers is layoffs. So where do you think the majority of the layoffs are going to come from? So it's interesting. I predict that from the WarnerMedia side, you'll see a lot of house cleaning. And again, that will make this new entity more efficient, and it'll eliminate a lot of redundancies. Again, you can do a lot of cost cutting when you have these types of mergers, and that's where a lot of that will come from. So.
Indeed.
And I mean, I don't know if you guys remember me mentioning it, like, I don't know, it was 2-3 weeks ago, but I was talking about how Discovery is this little juggernaut that nobody's paying attention to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you weren't wrong, sir. And it's amazing because of how he's been able to build that up and make strategic acquisitions, again, with the Scripps Networks and all that. But it's just, he is the model of efficiency. So, and here's the thing, AT&T is getting value in him, which is why he's the CEO of this new entity, this new merged enterprise. So
because now this makes them all like this makes Warner extremely competitive, because there was already a point where rumblings and you could even kind of look, and the numbers were kind of showing that HBO Max may have surpassed Disney Plus, or at least is definitely in the same vein now as far as how many subscribers they have. And this is something that could be a big boost or a boom to that, to where how do you think that's going to affect things going forward? Do you think this might put Warner at the top of the game, right under Netflix and Amazon still probably, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I do. And I think, well, here's the thing. I think Disney now is in a very strange place, because they over pursued their pathway to get larger. In fact, the video I was working on today feeds exactly into what you're talking about. They had a long-term plan to expand globally, but because of the global crisis, they accelerated that plan years in advance. So they had this exponential growth that the market didn't. They reacted to how great all of that was, and it was the only positive news that Disney could tout for the most part. And so the market reacted to that, maybe creating some overvalue in Disney, right? The stock being overvalued, but at the same time, because they went beyond their plan so quickly, they may have reached the point at which the churn is overcoming their growth, which is why you saw in the last quarterly the slowdown in the subscriber growth. I mean, they missed it by essentially 6 million, a little under 6 million subscribers, what the projection was. And they're going to sit there for a while. They did everything wrong in that quarter to enhance the growth of that. And again, I think they're also running into the churn that comes along with the rapid expansion. They knew it was going to hurt them long term. It just showed up a little earlier than they expected. So that, again, pursuant to what you were saying, puts this new entity right on their doorstep, or right on their tail, or however you want to describe it. So, yeah.
Exactly. What I find interesting here is that the head of this new entity won't be anyone from AT&T, but as we pointed out, it will be David Zaslav from Discovery. And since he is someone that's not that well known in the industry, Variety very helpfully did a little bit of a description on him, because, of course, this is a spins piece. Yeah. And what they say about him is that Zaslav has led Discovery since 2007. And his relentless business focus has kept the company competitive, even though it is smaller in scale than several of its rivals. When Discovery-owned cable networks start to flag, Zaslav doesn't shut them down. He rebrands them with new themes and programming. When a new goal comes into focus, Zaslav doesn't let operating executives charged with the task. I'm going to read that one. Sorry, that sucked. When a new goal comes into focus, Zaslav doesn't let operating executives charged with the task wander away to get it done. He checks in with them constantly, demanding updates and new information.
We're live, by
so
the way,
in other
Andre.
words,
So we're live, by the way, Andre. You can't get 2 takes.
Yeah, well, I'll take 2 takes whenever I damn well.
I know, I'm just giving you shit.
But anyway, so what they're saying here, again, this is Variety, and this only goes to show that this is someone that is now learning how the industry operates. So AT&T must evidently have taken some crash courses in how to navigate Hollywood, or they have like an advisor in WarnerMedia or something like that. Because here they present Zaslav the following way. He is someone that has kept Discovery floating, even though it actually has very little to offer. He doesn't give up. If something doesn't work, he'll make it work. And when there's a goal, he won't simply delegate and then stop checking into it. He's not necessarily going to micromanage, but he will constantly follow up that the job gets done. In other way, he is being portrayed as someone very, very efficient. And then it is also said that the current WarnerMedia CEO, Jason Kilar, His fate at this point is uncertain, as I'm sure will be that of many, many others. Culture, what do you think of this presentation of Zaslav, and what do you think is going to happen, well, both within Discovery and in WarnerMedia in terms of the employees, the people working there, both higher up and at more on the ground level? You're muted.
I think they did an exemplary job talking about his positive attributes. He was. And again, he's always been an efficient leader, and they essentially outlined it there. Of course, this is a trade paper. They're going to puff this to heck. And all of the trades have been very positive about this, and obviously the financial news. And again, in early trading, Discovery was the one that jumped up. But then, like I said, in the most recent trading, it seems like AT&T seems to come out on top, according to Wall Street. Even though right now they're only up about 1.1%, that was still, they headed in the right direction. And it surged even higher than that just a couple of hours ago. But it's just... I think they did an excellent job describing his attributes. I think there are some executives left over in WarnerMedia that will be shed. So if you want me to answer that question, I think if you're on the WarnerMedia side, I think if you're Jason Kilar, you're kind of wondering what's going to happen to you at the end of the day. Although they probably gave him some indication yesterday. So
probably it's interesting because we are in a situation where Jason Kilar, who has Killared a whole ton of careers in Warner already, can end up being Killared himself. So there's that. And in terms of David Zaslav, Thomas R. Hart points out David Zaslav, the executive who turned the Sci-Fi Channel into Sci-Fi. Ha 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 ha. Okay, so maybe that's him. Was that a good or a bad idea? I don't really know. But it's certainly an inspired one.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it points to something that Variety was talking about specifically. He rebrands things, he reprograms them, and it's just he's done very successful, especially on the Alive unscripted stuff, consistently doing that. And that's something to be desired right now, is the ability to change on the fly, and he doesn't let things stagnate. He pursues growth at all points, and that's the kind of leadership you need when you have what was considered an upstart in the media business. So I think he did very well. They're selling him very well, and I think that this new entity kind of is a great platform for him. It'll give him the credibility that he needs going forward. So I think the puff piece involved in that part of it was absolutely well done. So.
Absolutely, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because I honestly think that by the looks of it, Jason Kilar hasn't done too shabby a job.
No,
there are others there that really should be on the chopping block instead of him, or certainly way further ahead in line than him.
Oh yeah.
Who do you think? I'm not going to ask who, but what kind of strategy do you think that David Zaslav has for HBO Max and everything going forward? Because HBO Max will obviously continue.
If I were to guess, and again, I mean, they both have their own platforms. They have Discovery Plus, you have HBO Max, and again, it's been suggested here, and I think it's probably the most likely. Those two things will be sold as a bundle, just as it's suggested with ESPN being sold with Hulu and Disney Plus all together. I think that's likely what will happen with that, and I think you'll get a discount there. HBO Max is a premium level offering. They charge one of the highest subscription costs there is for a streaming service. Well, Discovery would be the slightly less expensive version. I think they'll bundle them in, even though they'll yield a lower ARPU. They'll actually earn more money and gain more subscribers. I think as a bundle. I think that's probably the best strategy, and hopefully that's what they pursue. So.
I agree. That seems like a very, very natural choice to do, but Discovery, they have so many different channels, so many lifestyle things that I personally would never watch myself, and not all of these things are like natural fits to be bundled with HBO Max. Yeah, certainly you can see like Discovery Plus being bundled with HBO Max. That would only make sense. Yeah. It certainly would back in the day when Discovery actually made documentaries rather than reality TV, but that's neither here nor there. But
Right.
all of the other reality TV, all of these various lifestyle programs and everything, how is that going to benefit them in the long run in the streaming wars? I mean, how many people subscribe to a streaming service for daytime TV?
Actually, that's funny because one of the strengths that came out of this, and one of the best performing terrestrial programs for them is on, or I should say, several of the best performing programs are on HDG TV, right? A lot of the home remodeling shows, those types of things, they've done very well in that space. And again, you're right. There are a lot of lifestyle channels here, but it gives you that breadth of content. They also control media licenses for sports products in the United States and in Europe. Discovery Plus owns Eurosport, right, or the rights to it here in the United States. They also own MLB, NBA, the NCAA tournament, March Madness. They own a lot of sports things as well. HBO Max was just about to head in that direction, and maybe this is one of the reasons why they weren't talking too much about the NHL rights deal that they just signed over there, because they were picturing where that was going to end up. So I think you're going to see some switch and swap between stuff that works really, really well over on the Discovery Plus brand. You're going to see things that work better on the HBO Max, but I still see a combined, a bundled type of product. But you're right. I mean, it'll allow HBO Max to shed some stuff that maybe doesn't fit well with their premium brand idea. And all of this feeds directly into an AVOD bundle that HBO Max was going to move forward with anyway, allowing for discounted content price with ads included. So I think that, again, all of this kind of, you're looking at some synergies here that, that I don't think anybody would have imagined just a couple weeks ago. So,
no, I strongly concur with that. Like, this is happening fast. But you know what? This is actually something that we predicted way back in... Tom, when was it we first started talking about the streaming wars? Was it 2017, 2018?
It was earlier now. It was one of our first videos we did together.
Yeah. So it would have been late 2017, I think.
Yeah, because we got Bill Hunt of Digital Blitz to talk to us.
Yeah, so basically, we kind of like predicted this already then, because what we said in that video was that all this streaming is going to do is that it's going to force multiple companies and corporations to consolidate and join and merge together. Those that do not have a streaming platform of their own, they either going to have to slim down their operations to become just a content producer, or they're going to have to team up with someone that already has a streaming platform. Or in this case, you have two parties that already have a streaming platform. However, one of them wasn't all that successful, so they teamed up with someone who's a slightly more of a bigger hitter. And that way, they're able to presumably, by the looks of it, survive together and have, all in all, a stronger offering.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to be seeing more of this. And one of the things that I heard whispers about, I think Mikey Sutton mentioned something along these lines, is that Disney and Sony are getting really, really tight. And that is one thing that could happen in the future. Now, Disney, they announced like a deal with Netflix, but that wasn't like a permanent thing. That's like a limited time thing. Whereas how tight they are with Disney, especially now with the most recent reached the deal in terms of like with Spider-Man and Marvel and stuff, that's apparently also like a sign of things to come. What do you think about that culture?
That wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you, and it would make an awful lot of sense. They've had an on again, off again relationship. Obviously, a lot of vitriol was spewed back and forth, back when they were trying to negotiate the Spider-Man thing, and they completely abandoned it. It took a lot of leverage by Feige and others to make that thing, to turn that to something positive. But look, it would make an awful lot of sense if not combine resources or to outright just acquire the Sony Studios thing. That would make an awful lot of sense. I could see that happening. And Mikey gets us stuff right a lot, so it wouldn't surprise me. But I think it would be positive. I really do. I think that would be. It would also, again, it would edge up the game against WarnerMedia, because I'm telling you right now, this new entity, they're playing for keeps. And again, it's AT&T making a brilliant move here with this merger. So, and again, that's why they're up almost 1% for the day. They had, like I said, they had a pretty good peak. Early on, it was Discovery, but by the end of the day, I still predict we'll be up over. They'll have a 1% jump, a 32-cent increase in their stock price for the day. So, anybody that's pretty deep in that will be pretty happy.
Absolutely. And also, on that note, we have a couple of super chats here. Now, we'll get through every single one in the end, but we'll take them a little bit out of order. So don't be discouraged if we haven't gotten to yours yet. But one we can get up on screen is Gypsy Warrior, who wonders, what's Ann Sarnoff making of all of this? What do you think about that?
Ooh, that's a good question. It would be
just Ann Sarnoff. She is the president of WarnerMedia, isn't she? Well, no, she's not the president, but she's the chairman. She's the one that she answers to Jason Killard. But Jason Killard, he's the one that absolutely sits on top, whereas she is the production manager, for lack of a better term, is Ann Sarnoff, isn't she?
She's the CEO of Warner Brothers. So
yeah.
So I feel like she's also the chairperson of Warner Brothers. But
exactly, that's what I meant. Yeah, she's the chair.
Yeah. And so she's I don't know what she's making of this, to be honest with you. She's put herself in a weird position anyway with AT&T. She's done a lot of Kathleen Kennedy style things. And I hope we get my reference there, where she's gone outside of what AT&T would prefer in her conversations and media surrounding certain events, and essentially, kind of placed, the studio at odds with their parent company. That's never a good look. So I don't know. I would say she's looking at it going, well, I've done a good job and I have a golden parachute. That would be my thought. But again, or maybe she doesn't care, or maybe she was told she was safe. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these deals. You have a lot of behind the scenes handshaking, because they know that some of these people can sabotage some of these efforts. So I'm not sure I want to speculate too far, but again, if I were Stankey, and I'd be talking to Jason, I'd be talking to other people and saying, we need to see what we can shed. And I guarantee you, Stankey spoke specifically to Zaslav about this. The sad news is something I don't think anybody's going to notice, but David has had a positive relationship with Jeff Zucker, who's at CNN, and so I'm afraid that he'll ask him to stay. Actually right now CNN needs a change in leadership, but we'll see. I'm just trying to break down each channel as it goes to figure out what pieces would stay and what pieces would leave. And I haven't had a chance to get too in depth on that, but there's definitely going to be a shift. So we'll see some of these people in important positions, and Sarnoff, maybe some others that would go.
One thing that I was thinking about is that Ann Sarnoff wasn't mentioned by a word in the article, not one word. And I thought that was weird because, as you said, she's the CEO of Warner. Her not being mentioned seems like something of a strange omission. To me, that could be like could be that either she is completely safe, or she's already out, but this isn't the time to mention it. So I absolutely think there's going to be some very prolific heads that are going to roll. I do not know that Ann Sarnoff will be one of them. But if you had to assess right now, I know that among fans of the Snyderverse, she isn't very popular, because she basically said that she was the one who said in this article to Variety earlier that we're done with the Snyderverse. We're not going to go down that path. The Snyder Cut represents the end of a trilogy, but from here on out, we are going to do what we want. We want to go a completely different direction that is much more diverse, much more safe, much more inclusive, and you all should be excited about it because we say so. She did not win a lot of fans in the genre fan community, but beyond that, in this last year and a half, 2 years, where she's had that position, has she stood out in any way? Like, how has she fared?
Did it again.
You're still muted.
Again. Yeah, I did it. I did it. I keep hitting on the side. I keep forgetting to do that. But anyway, no, I don't, like I said, if there are times when she's stood out, haven't been good times. Like I said, I mean, and I alluded to something that you mentioned directly just now. I mean, she's gone against, AT&T's wishes, when she talks about things.
She's actively undercut AT&T's strategy by trying to kill one of their hallmark investments.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the kind of article you don't want dropped. I mean, that was strategic on her part. She willfully set that out on a specific date in advance of the completion of a weekend where you were going to show, some fans that you really supported them and get in their good graces because you wanted to earn subscriptions for HBO Max and other, goodwill with these fans, the Snyder fans specifically. And then you say, well, yeah, but there's no chance of this continuing. So, and that's like giving you the fans a middle finger at the same time saying, you know what, we're not going to take any of what you do in consideration or care. And it again, working exactly as you said against AT&T's strategy, and obviously their profits, because literally that's not a profitable thing. And that's the stuff I focus on. It's the stuff you guys focus on. The interest of the investor, the people involved in the business should always be about profit. And again, as somebody who works against it actively, I don't know. I wouldn't say they performed to peak performance. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good point. But speaking of peak performance, we have someone else here that I'm very, very excited to hear the take on all of this, namely Lorena Creole. Welcome. I'll do it.
I didn't touch anything, I swear.
That was the two of us being so excited about clicking.
I thought that was my cue. I thought that was my cue, and then Andre's doing it at the same time. Okay, sorry. Anyway.
Oh, glad to be here with you, gentlemen, and all you wonderful folks in the chat.
Yes, and we're so glad to have you here, Lorena. So, have you seen these news, and what do you think about them?
I did see the news, and the first thing that came to mind for me was, maybe I'll get a price break on Discovery Plus, considering that I have HBO Max. And the reason why I say that, Discovery Networks, I'm pretty sure Culture probably went over about Discovery Networks. For me, Discovery Networks has a lot of crime shows that I like to watch, because before I decided to go to become an engineer, I wanted to be a homicide detective until my mother freaked out about me getting shot as a cop. I said, okay, I'll go do something else. But the criminal mind fascinates me. So Discovery ID has a lot of those true crime shows and dramas and stuff like that. And then there's the Learning Channel, which is kind of a misnomer because it's famous for shows like Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, Toddlers and Tiaras, and my favorite reality show, Trainwreck, 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah.
That one is like crazy popular, probably not for a good reason.
Yeah.
But Discovery Networks, they do like their own made for that network movies and all of that. So as soon as I heard this, Discovery Plus, I did a trial membership with, I think, for a month. And to me, it was not worth it because I could just go to the TLC app for free and watch what I wanted to instead of paying, $4.99 a month. But knowing this news, if they merge and I get it within HBO Max, that makes it an even more attractive value and basically makes Disney Plus look like crap.
It does, even with the Nat Geo stuff that they have, Discovery just has that much better programming, and as Andre said, I mean, you're talking about lifestyle brands of Lifetime networks, the Learning Channel, as you mentioned, HGTV, the Food Network, they that's the kind of stuff that you're going to find there. And, you have, just their own original programming there. You have ID, as you mentioned, all kinds of other channels show up there. You get A&E, Travel Channel, Science Channel. It comes with all this extra stuff. And that's for a lot of people, a lot of households, it makes it, and again, it depends on the makeup of your household, but you can have everybody covered with a bundle of those two products, from the sci-fi movie buff to the people that like unscripted train wrecks like Lorena. So
yep.
But also, you know what? I agree with what you said there. I think that the ID, that's investigation discovery, isn't it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge underrated thing that HBO Max just got access to. I mean, there they could do one of like the really high profile shows that are there, repackage it and put it on HBO Max. Or better yet, they could do like direct movies based on the coolest cases there. I mean, how awesome would that be? Like BTK the movie.
Oh yeah, I'd watch it.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure.
Find torture.
You and a whole hell of a lot of others.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that I like. I mean, it's some of those because it's like the true TV stuff. I really those are the shows that I will when I'm on a flight, right? When you're sitting on a plane for 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever, 8 hours, and you don't have anything to do, not anywhere to go. You'll find that on one of the live TV guides, and you'll watch hour after hour of that. So it's a huge step in a big direction. But there, like I said, there are a lot of people I think that are going to be, as you suggested, Andre, that should be a little concerned with their positions in the company, because there'll be a ton of redundancy that will have to be scraped out of the leadership positions that they're in. So we'll see.
Yeah, because that's like the thing. Whenever you merge companies, because this has been a trend across corporations in the last few decades. I'm sure that you will both be able to share the same experiences, that the actual doers, the people that make it happen, they tend to be outsourced and downsized and everything like that. But then you need more and more people to manage the fewer and fewer actually doing some kind of actual work. And when you have mergers like these, then you have like typically two very manager-heavy entities that join together. And when each of them probably had too many managers to begin with, it's the managers that are going to be the ones to go first and foremost. So for some positions, it's going to be the manager that had the role in the one company, and the other is going to be in the other. But their heads will roll. And it will be. I'm actually most curious about Ann Sarnoff myself. I mean, we've already heard rumors about Tommy Emmerich being on his way out the door. This would certainly explain that.
No, you're right on it. I mean, when you look at the organizational charts for all of these organizations, you look at how they're going to flip things to and from. Because I think True TV will move from the HBO Max side of things, where it is now in WarnerMedia, over to more of the Discovery Plus stuff. I mean, you're going to see a lot of flip flopping to create those synergies, and you will streamline management that way. So there are positions underneath Ann Sarnoff that will disappear. Who's to say Ann Sarnoff's position isn't given to someone else in a different place? And again, a lot of times they'll tap, talent that's on a lower rung because they're less expensive too. And they'll, golden parachute out the the person that's headed out the door. Like I said, it would be good for Warner if Anne weren't there. At least she wouldn't be working against, some of these ideas. The other question is, which is a natural fit into a lot of people's ideas here with the DC EU, is where's Hamada going to be? Is he going to stay there? Are they going to continue on with this plan? Is JJ going to get six films together and he's gone for that $500 million? I mean, there's a lot to talk about here.
There is. And before we talk about that, let me just hit a couple of more super chats, and then we are going to get what I know many people are really interested in, namely the DC discussion. Before then, a couple of super chats that I can no longer bring up on screen, so in no particular order. Then we have Maple Bob 23 says, "You all look so different than I imagine you in my head. Can't you use doggy and kitty avatars so I can keep my illusions intact?"
I don't know about that, but I got an Oscar-winning puppy.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, what I'm curious, like, what doggy or kitty do you see me as? That should be interesting. I'm waiting for the Norwegian elk hound myself.
That's probably about right. Yeah.
I would be a bear dog.
Yes, you would be a bear dog, but with a flowing mane of blonde hair.
That's right. Yeah.
I'd be a cat. Or just be specific, one of those, long hair cats.
And I'm a fucking turtle, so what does that put me?
There you go. You had a beautiful Maine Coon, and then you have Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say a Creole Maine Coon.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Those are they're amazing cats. They're actually like the descendant of the Norwegian forest cat as well.
Which
really?
Really. Like, if you look at a picture of them next to each other, there's no doubt which came from which.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, Maine Coons, they're the best cats of all.
Natasha says
so pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know if she says she's in a Norwegian forest cat or if you are, Andre.
Well, I'm sure it'll work either way. But anyway, moving on.
I was going to say, you have a lot of qualities of both, a dog and a cat.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Moving on from the kitty and doggy talk. Peter Walker also wonders, Andre, did we ever finish your Dune read-through? Are we going to get more videos, maybe a summary? Yes, you are going to get more videos. No, I am not done with the read-through. It's just like when I first started it, we were still living in, reasonably normal times, so I could take the bus to and from work every single day and listen in on audiobooks there, and that's been challenging, so I'm behind, but that's still coming. I'm still reading into Dunes. I just haven't gotten into it yet. And then Nelson Cheretta wonders, are DC Rooster Teeth both doomed? Well, DC certainly is not. Creatively, we'll discuss momentarily, but as an entity, it's not. Rooster Teeth, on the other hand, are you guys familiar with Rooster Teeth?
Yeah, I am, going back all the way to Red versus Blue, which was one of the original products from the original people that founded it.
Okay, thank you, because I have no idea what that is. So
yeah. The Halo Machinima, I guess at the time is what it was called, and but they branched out to do a lot of other stuff, and that organization morphed, and some of the people were pushed out because of some bad behaviors, reportedly, stuff like that. I think a lot of the products could be shed to something else. I don't think Rooster Teeth, unless it's spun out to somebody else, is going to survive. It's hard. It would be hard to say specifically without more information, but I mean, if based on recent reporting, I don't know how long they are for the world. So
reporting I've heard, it's gone so far down the tubes. Friends of mine who are in animation, as soon as you mention Rooster Teeth, they're like, no, the place is a garbage fire. So I don't think it's very long for this world.
Well, or then again, because we just said that the new CEO of this company is someone that his strategy is, if it doesn't work, rebrand and give it new content. So maybe, who knows? Maybe it has a new glory day ahead if his instincts are right.
Yeah. No, that's good thinking.
True. Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, again, some of his strategy is going to be to collapse entities into others. So, who knows? We'll see. It didn't sound good for a really long time now. We're going into 18 months of nothing bad, but
yeah. And House Atreides wonders, can Discovery handle the debt that AT&T is shedding? Your thoughts on that? Lorena, let's begin with you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I got lost.
Can Discovery, yeah, sure. Can Discovery handle the debt that AT&T is shedding? Question from House Atreides.
As an outsider looking in, I would say yes. The reason why, it's just from just how much content that they have and how much content they put out. It's just crazy. So I think that they'd be able to easily absorb that. I don't really see a problem. Discovery is like a household name if you're talking about, well, of course, now it's streaming, but there's also cable. So yeah, I think they should have no problem.
Yeah. Culture, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think they won't have difficulty with it. Their projected revenue for 2023 is $52 billion. They're going to have $8 billion to work with the new entity to help retire debt as they go and to create new content. Obviously, David's managed, or Zaslav has managed through this type of thing before when with the $3 billion acquisition of Scripps Networks and stuff. So I think they're going to be okay. And again, I mean, the ultimate goal here for AT&T was to create something else that could shed this more efficiently. And with the partnership, or again, it's a merger between two entities, that each of the companies kind of control with the shares, you'll see that. And again, if you've got this guy to lead it with his record of efficiency, I think they'll emerge from their debt very, very quickly. But like I said, projected revenue, just based on that alone, I would say they're probably, and again, this is something most people don't pay attention to. You as a corporation, you can have debt. And it's not bad. It's the amount of debt, the percentage of debt that you want to manage, and how it's serviced, right?
Exactly. It's the gearing ratio. Is what matters there. Even the biggest companies of the world, they have a certain amount of debt, and this is good. The only thing that matters is basically that the additional revenue that you get as a direct result of that debt, that you can use that debt for new investments and everything like that, that the revenue that you get back is far, far greater than the interest you have to pay on that debt.
Yes.
As long as that balance is there, that is fine. It's not an issue.
And that's why AT&T wanted to shed it. Again, I mean, because it was cutting into their bottom line.
They had too much debt.
Yeah, as Neil points out here in the chat, you never want your liabilities to be higher than your assets.
Absolutely.
God dang it, Kitty, get out of that. Sorry.
but it's just, like I said, I wouldn't fear them emerging from this in a healthy situation very quickly. I think this is brilliant.
Yes, indeed. And I would also like to add that here's like the thing, that Discovery, they're not actually taking on AT&T's debt. The only thing that they are doing is that they have to pay a substantial cost to AT&T in order to be part of this new venture. And I think that this new venture is going to be very profitable for them. But at the same time, then, this additional income that AT&T got from Discovery for allowing them to be part of this venture, that they can use that to pay off some debt. So it's a win-win. It will help a great deal for all involved. So yeah, seems like a great idea, and it will certainly help them get their head above water. And then we have, let's see, Nelson Charetta wonders, will this be good or bad for WB management? And I think the question should be, for who?
Yeah.
Will it be good for us, the consumer, or will it be good for the people working there? Because those two can sometimes be mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and I want to get Lorena. You brought up a point when you came in, and that's what I kept saying is what brought Discovery to my radar was all the people in my life that were talking about it who weren't like, in the YouTube circle or entertainment, talk circles. Like, wait, this channel is big among normies, like because everybody's bitching like I got to get Discovery Plus because all my stuff's on there now, and that's what caused me to look into this thing in the first place. That's a great question. Who is this a better deal for, the consumer or the Warner Discovery people? What do you think, Lorena? We'll start with you.
I feel like for me, it's a win for the consumer. That's kind of like how I see it. Anytime you have companies merging, I always think of people losing their jobs or, people getting promoted and those who weren't promoted get shown out the door. That seems like there's more of an attrition to start with at the beginning when it comes to companies. But for consumer looking in, the only thing I see is I'm going to get more channels and I'm probably going to get a package deal for those channels, especially someone like me that tried Discovery Plus. And I'm like, why should I pay $4.99 for one or two extra shows when I can watch, 90 Day Fiance for free on the TLC app? That doesn't appeal to me. But if you tell me because I have HBO Max, guess what? We're going to bundle, that in with Discovery Plus and I don't have to pay extra. It's a win for me.
And that's a win for all consumers, as Paulie says down there.
Yeah. Well, I sent him the link, but he must be busy. But our own Paulie from Latino Slant says this one is a huge win for the consumer. Is that what you say too, Culture? It sounds like it.
Yeah, it is. And again, and you're not wrong, Tom, when you talk about the normies and everything else. I mean, like I said, in my household, there's a decent chance that if something's being streamed that isn't HBO Max, it might be, and again, we don't watch a lot of terrestrial television anymore, but it might be something like HGTV or whatever. And as I said, on the flights that I take, I always meander over to a channel like this with programming I like, between, the rehab your house kind of stuff to the true crime stuff with ID, stuff like that. That's a natural thing for me to sit and watch and binge and enjoy. And they have, I think just with classic Discovery Channel, I think they had like over 55,000 episodes of stuff, or something. It was ridiculous how many different episodes of different products they had. So I think what Ms. Soretta's question was, what I don't remember the context of it all.
I think it was.
I got it right here.
Okay.
The question that I just read right now was will this be good or bad for WB management?
Oh, all right. Yeah. I see this.
My bad.
Yeah, it's okay. I see it as bad for a lot of. I think I see it as bad for a lot of WB management. I think, again, I mean, you're talking about people who've been in that system for a long period of time. It's not lean and mean over there. There's a lot of bloat. Jason Kilar has been, slashing the bloat, and it seems like he does it like the little pieces at a time. Like he's taken a couple of axes to DC. He's going to take a couple of axes to some studio stuff. But overall, I mean, you bring in somebody like David Zaslav, and you have somebody who's also very efficient at cutting out the fat. And there's a lot of it in Warner. There has been for a long time. The studios, again, the old studio system has a lot of bloat, redundancy, and stuff like that. Especially one of the first things Jason Kilar did was cut it out of the distribution, because they were tripled up on distribution folks. So you don't need that. And again, I mean, same thing's going to happen with Discovery. I mean, you're gonna see, Discovery is kind of lean and mean now. you're going to see that kind of mentality go into Warner even harder than it did under Jason Kilar, possibly. And who knows? I mean, Jason could end up working with David directly, as, identifying, problems, right? So we'll see. I just think this is a brilliant move by AT&T because they get to keep a lot of quality there. So, and, my prediction.
Go
ahead.
No.
My prediction on the stock is not going to come true because it looks like it's only up by 0.33% now. So for whatever reason, the profit takers decided they were just going to let this thing go flat. So it might be a neutral day for AT&T. But anyway,
I was just going to say, dare I ask, is this almost kind of like what Warner did to AT&T initially? Now AT&T is trying to do to Discovery, but I don't know if that's an accurate way of putting it.
I don't know, but I thought this would finish at least with a 1% gain today, about 30 cents. But doesn't look like I'm right, which is weird.
Since I misinterpreted the question, Lorena, your take on that part, since I know we only got you for a few more minutes.
I'm sorry, I just had a work email come across.
No, that's fine. Andre, it was in the corporate side of things. My bad. I misinterpreted the initial question when Andre asked. How was the exact question again, Andre?
The exact question was, will this be good or bad for WB management?
Coming from corporate America, it could be good, it could be bad. It depends on, I would say, who you know. Usually when these mergers and things start to happen, people start pulling their network really quick. And the ones that are the quote unquote bad performers without a huge network, they're pretty much the first ones out the door to get rid of. The ones who can play it really good strategically, they can move up. It really does depend, because you can get people who will fail up in these situations. You know what I mean? They're just some of the worst executives that you could run into, but because they know all the right people, they'll wind up getting promoted. So I really think it's too early at this point in time to tell what will happen, if this is good for the executives or not. I think it really does depend on where you sit with respect to your network wise at this company.
Yeah, I think that on average, it's going to be bad, because it's going to be good for some, but I think it's going to be more that are going to be fired and that are suddenly going to find themselves in a position where they suddenly have to work twice as hard as they did before, not necessarily for more pain. So I think that on average, it's going to be bad, but I do think that that's actually going to benefit the end consumer.
We got breaking news that goes with this, and it goes along with the super chat. Thank you, Alexander, for bringing this to my attention. Alexander Wilson sent us $5. Says, New York Times just broke the news.
Yeah.
Jason Kilar is planning his exit.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
wow.
because David Sasla will be taking over his role, basically. This is what we said at the beginning. Jason Kilar, who has Kilared many careers within WarnerMedia, now ends up getting Kilared himself. Like, basically just a repeat of the French Revolution, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
But yeah.
I can already see the video from Andre. Like,
Oh, man.
Game of Thrones references all over the. I might as well start digging that shit up.
Yeah, you need some red wedding stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. This is a red wedding, all right.
This one will write itself, especially since in this story, if you roll down a little bit more, it speaks directly to how, if he knew this was happening.
Yeah. You want me to grab this, Andre? Jason Kilar has hired a legal team to negotiate his departure as chief executive of WarnerMedia, according to two people briefed on the matter. AT&T, which owns WarnerMedia, said on Monday that it agreed to spin off the division and merge it with rival media company Discovery, Inc. Mr. Kilar was kept in the dark about the deal until recent days.
Oh, yeah, there you go. He wasn't wanted to be part of it. He's kept in the dark. He doesn't know. And also, I don't know that she's going to be out, but also kept in the dark, I think Anne Sarnoff was. Because if she wasn't kept in the dark, she wouldn't have put up that variety piece where she made it clear that she's going against corporate intentions. So that's also something that will be very interesting to pay attention to going forward. It absolutely will be. But yeah, with that, and Lorena, while we still have you here, Culture, how long do we have you for? Because I know that we also only have a limited time.
Yeah, I can give you about another 15 minutes. So
okay, yeah, well, fine.
Yeah.
That's 10 minutes more than Lorena can give us. So Lorena, real quick, now that we have answered that one super chat, instead of going to another right away, let's move in with what do you think is going to happen to DC going forward?
Well, if DC keeps following this woke nonsense, it's just going to go further into the toilet. I'm not excited about DC. I don't really have high hopes for DC. I really do not. I could be wrong, but I don't. Not with, especially with the whole JJ Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Superman thing. No.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm very curious about myself, because there's no guarantee that those things are going to go forward. Because again, this is something that is done under Walter Hamada, and he has got that approved by Ann Sarnoff. But the powers that be in AT&T, they're going to be like a little bit more like, well, we'll see how this turns out. If the upcoming Batman movie isn't working out, then we might not do all those other things. Still, they already have that deal with J.J. Abrams. However, he isn't talking up the DC thing as much as the people in Time Warner are. So with this thing, everything changes now when they have a new manager. This is kind of like a big X factor. What is he going to do? Is he going to be about fulfilling the consumer, or is he going to be all about virtue signaling like the current people in charge there? Culture, what do you think about that? Or actually, before you, because Lorena, I know that you have to go.
Yeah.
So just two quick things before that. We got a super chat that was addressed to. I disappeared from here. I'll find it again here. It was. Meanwhile, what are you doing later tonight on this channel?
Oh, well, later tonight, of course, at 9 p.m. Eastern, we have Toxic Femininity, where, we take that female perspective of certain pop culture topics. And, of course, Mandy is going to be on the show, as well as Nina Infinity. And today, tonight's topic, we're taking on, apparently the creator of Power Girl has a problem with sexism and misogyny in manga. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. He certainly has a problem with manga's sales figures and who they're selling to. It seems like that's the real problem. But it's going to be a real doozy to get into that. So do check out Toxic Femininity later tonight.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Till then, Lorena, you take care of yourself.
All right, everyone. Take care. I'll see you later. Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye. Take care. So we just got another super chat here, which I think is a good food for thought for Culture for the minutes that you remain. Dark Shadow 308 says, according to EVS, Black Superman is happening in the Clark Kent incarnation because DC is using that to keep the rights from the families of the creators. Culture, before you have to go, do you think there could be something to that?
Yeah.
And how do you think that is going to change change going forward?
You know what? That's hard to say. I agree that instead of going down that path, that could be one of the reasons why they're pursuing it in this way. I believe they tapped the wrong person to write this, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, in order to keep the rights away from the families makes perfect sense. You are seeing that done more and more by studios just to kind of, twist the blade into these folks that could end up with these things after a period of stagnation, reclaiming the rights and all of that. That's really interesting.
It is true. I will say that I don't know because that's something that they've been doing for years. But I think what he might have been referring to is that's why they keep changing his costume. That's why they made Superboy.
Right.
That's why they made Supergirl. Because they can do certain things that'll extend off the original copyright, but they aren't Superman in anything. Because as far as I know, the families only own the initial version of Superman, and I think Clark Kent, and a few other minor things that were not created in the comics or the show after the initial run or whatever it was. But again, as far as the Black Superman movie, I don't think that has less to do with the rights issue than it does with virtue signaling.
Yeah, but it also creates that opportunity as well, Tom. I mean that's true, especially if they're using the Kent thing. So, yeah, it would make a lot of sense. Again, it doesn't surprise me any of these efforts to try to retain these IPs and keep the original families from reclaiming them. I mean, that's why there's a time clock on the Amazon Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. It's like, look, you have a time to use this property and you only have it for a time and that's it. That's a wise way of doing business because, you have to control your IP. And if you don't anymore, you have to wait until you can reclaim it. So it is what it is. Anyway, there was another question posed before Lorena left that I now no longer remember. So,
was it a super chat or
no? Something Andre said on about Jason Killar's exit. I don't remember.
Let's see if it was. It was Dash D's that says, "Geez, Miss Creole, it's kind of looking like your fine self and Casino are an item. Every time I see you, he's around too." Apart from in toxic femininity, because culture hasn't been there yet. Now, have you?
That's true. No, that's okay. I don't think I possess the equipment for that.
You do have the hair, though.
That may be true, but I enjoy watching the ladies on Toxic Femme and the panel that's there. I enjoy watching a great many things. But no, Lorraine and I we talk about the same stuff often. So
I was going to say,
it's a natural collaboration, especially when it comes to theme park love and stuff like that, which we're heavily invested in that type of stuff. But
you two definitely have a lot of the same kind of, I don't know if I'd call it background, but when certain things like this happen, it's like, I think I've said this before, you two are like my first go-tos.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I mean, it is something that I focus on. I mean, and had this broken a different way, had I been able to commit last evening to some of this stuff, I think today's video would have been on this. So, like I said, I mean, I love this. I love it because this is pure business. This is the Game of Thrones stuff from the business world. I can't wait for that video, Andre. I hope you put that together quickly. So
yeah, well, we shall see what we can do.
And I have to say this much: I apologize for this individual. I did not hit enter when I sent him the link. I am so sorry, Paul. How you doing? Welcome.
That didn't sound right. I apologize for this individual.
I apologize. Did I say it that way? I didn't mean that. I apologize for this. I sent it to this individual is what I meant to say. I didn't hit enter. And good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Happy Monday, guys.
Yeah. Happy Monday. How are you?
Feeling good. We got some cool things cooking on the Espanol channel, which I'm happy to I like time today.
Food. Yeah. Oh, you mean like news, not food. Never mind.
Oh, food. I mean, that's like always.
Yeah, exactly. But news are also really cool, and we also have some other awesome translated content that's going to show up there really really soon. So go and do check that out.
And this is something I have to agree with. Jason Alleger says, "As is a ladies' man." Yes, he is. Very much.
He showed up. He showed up on the Welcome to Florida stream last night in the chat just to stir the pot. That was fun.
Yeah, I love that.
It's good times.
And hello, culture. Didn't say hello to you.
Well, no, it's fine. I said, "Hey, Paulie. Hey, Paulie. How's it going?"
Hey, Paulie.
I got to make my way to your neighborhood, man. We're gonna have to eat together soon. I'm craving some LA food.
Sure. So, Paulie, what's up with all this Warner Brothers news this morning? Holy cats! What's your take on this, real quick?
I mean, we are avid Discovery Plus. We were avoiding it forever, but we realized that what they had done, and when I say avoided buying the package, you can buy a package at $4.99 a month with a 1-minute commercial every few minutes, and it's the same commercials. So that's a whole nother story. But they are shortened. It's not like watching them on a terrestrial. But what they had done, and they being like all the channels, like on cable, Learning Channel, ID, in promoting this last fall, going to Discovery Plus, is they were telling it's like, you got to get it because this is now going to become exclusive content, right? We're like, we're not going to get it. And then we were really missing what they took away. And, so we got it. It's an awesome app. I mean, just kind of going off of what, as a consumer, what Lorena said, we like both. We love the ID channels, all the crime programming, big time, and we love we're train wrecks as well with the 90 Day Fiance, and they have 90 Day Fiance content that is not on the terrestrial channel anymore, and it's like you really cannot enjoy and really dig in and really lose yourself with all these idiots if you don't have Discovery Plus.
90 Day Fiance has been brought up more times on today's show than it ever has before on Midnight's Edge, just so you know.
I mean, the thing is that I don't know if I wish I had gotten to here on time.
That was my fault. I'm so sorry about that, Paulie.
They had their tell-all part 1 yesterday debut on the Plus, and guys. It was, anyways, they're brilliant. Discovery Plus is brilliant because it's got something for the whole, I think CC said this, for the whole household. There's something for every member of the household. And we haven't even gotten into the food and the home improvement stuff, which we love as well. So now you're telling me that I'm going to get that potentially with HBO Max, correct, Cuddles?
Well, actually, it's funny because Culture, go ahead. You brought up that in the private chat for Lorena. You might as well just read that out loud now.
Yeah. So here it is from their very own mouths when they were asked a couple of times about it last evening or this morning or whenever this thing happened. The execs were non-committal as to whether they would combine the services or bundle them as separate products. I believe they're going to bundle them, but that's neither here nor there.
That's a logical choice.
Yeah. Zaslav said all options would be explored. This is in quotes, we'll see over the next few years as we learn more about what consumers want and how they want it, he said. So for now, they're going to be separate. I think they're going to be bundled for a while, and then they'll go from there. So
you think that there will be some maybe a discount incentives to get the other one, even though they're not going to be together?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, look, it's a matter of sacrificing ARPU, right? I mean, average earning per user, right? And so they are or average revenue, excuse me, per user. But it's so their thoughts are probably like we'll lose a little bit of like the HBO Max money, which is one of the highest streaming service costs at 14 plus.
Yeah,
that's not their AOVD version. That'll be a little cheaper when that launches, but that feeds right into that as well. So you could end up with an AVOD supported product on both sides that you could bundle together. And then you could bundle both of the paid options together. So there could be a couple of different ways to maximize earnings, and still, and with the AVOD stuff, they'll be able to gain additional revenue from the sales of advertising. So and again, I mean, this HBO is in a position to do that with their AVOD. They've been planning to do it for a while, and I see that going forward as something amazing. So, and it's probably why they kept Jason Kilar out of this whole thing, is because he's worked so hard with his team to get the advertisement supported product together for HBO Max. So we'll have to see, but yeah, I like I said, I think you'll see it bundled for a while, and if they're successful with that, I don't think they'll ever merge them. But who knows? I mean, if there's yeah, there you go.
I'm like, why isn't it showing? It should be right there in my chair. Anyways,
no, but that's what
always the businessman.
Yeah.
Hey. No seas mocosos.
I am not hating the player or the game in this case. Right. Gordon Davis, but you're so right. Cooking shows help make the shitty food you got to eat sometimes taste better. Sorry, Coltrax.
No, I'm at the point now where I do have to slide out. I had a lot.
Sorry about that. Before you do, real quick, I wanted to bring this up. I don't know if you knew anything about this. This I caught as funny. I noticed, I haven't had a chance to look into it. But as you know, Hulu isn't completely owned by Disney. There's still a small percentage owned by Universal, right?
Well, I thought it was Hearst, but no.
Is it Hearst?
Yeah, I'll double check. But
I just thought it was funny. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but they're running a deal right now on HBO Max through Hulu. I was like, whoa. I'm going to look into that one because I know, didn't Warner also still have a little bit of a stake in Hulu, or is that an old deal that they got sold out? Yeah, I was going to ask you about that another day. So there's some food for thought for later cultures for you to look into.
Yeah, no, it looks like it still has. Hang on a minute. It looks like it still has. It still has a little bit of Comcast, NBC, Universal as an equity stakeholder.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong.
I wondered if they're pulling a little like F you on. Like, we're going to do a deal with HBO Max. Fuck it.
I think it's brilliant, man. Cuddles, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You might want to look into that for me. If you find anything, let me know, man.
Yeah, no, I thought that Hearst Media was still involved there, but again, I mean, because they've been involved in so many of the Disney ventures that wouldn't surprise.
Yes, that hurts.
And you guys said something earlier about DC and the Black Superman.
Yeah.
Yes, and we'll get back to that. But before we do,
take care, Culture. Love you, brother.
Yeah, thank you all very much. I will see you all later. Thanks for having me. Everybody out there in the chat, thank you. Everybody have a great day. Love you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Go check out Culture Casino. And Paulie, before we get into not just Black Superman, but the entirety of the future of DC on film, let's run through a couple more of these super chats.
Sure.
And then we'll talk some DC.
Yes, then we'll talk some DC, and I have the perfect one to segue into that. But before then, Joel Rice says, "Cut." Okay, let's take it from the top. In reference to me needing a take two there, I'm taking my liberty in.
What's funny is the reason I said that. Just full disclosure, and why I thought it was so funny is when Andre's usually he sends me edited audio, but there's rare occasion where he didn't have the chance to do to do it, and you'll get that. Like, I'm going to do that again. It just reminds it's like, this ain't a recording, Andre. You don't get a take two.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, good times. That's a fun thing with live shows, isn't it? The take twos will be live as well. But yeah, and then Michael Miller said for 35 South African runs, thank you so much, this reformats the Hollywood system. A CEO now has personal fiscal stake in success. Yes, they have that anyway, but yeah, they might be even more of that here. And then we have Jesse Miller at the Crow's Nest, who says, "Whatever happened
Jesse.
to the community getting together to purchase the Muppets IP? Let's do this thing."
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesse, if you're listening, he remembers. I think we were talking about that on the show he was on, or he was there in the chat. Like, we're like, fuck it, let's get together and buy the Muppets. Disney don't know what the hell to do with them. You know
what? Yeah, and hail Jesse, and then have him be the CEO. Can you imagine if he runs the Muppets?
Oh God! Well, they wanted me in charge at first, and I'm like, oh boy, I don't know about that. I was like, all I care about is just let me be Kermit, and that's about it. Maybe that's
it's we're gonna need someone with the time and right skills for that. Maybe Jesse could handle it. But, yeah.
Jesse's like Animal, though. That's the problem.
He's so Animal.
Wow, man.
I mean, he's a lovable animal. Don't get me wrong, but he can go,
And then Kit Kat says, "For 20 British pounds, thank you so much. No one else brings us this kind of corporate financial news, information presented in a way that we can understand. We are lucky that Andre, a man with a career in finance, is also a devoted nerd. Hail Andre." Oh, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. And it's my pleasure, because these are the things that I want to be talking about. And it's so great to be able to mingle with all of you fine ladies and gentlemen that have the same interests, so that we can talk about it here and share our insights with all of you. That's really, really cool. And then Alexander Wilson says, "Financial publications are saying down the road the new company will be an acquisition target. Any thoughts on that matter?" This is a very good question. I want to hear what you guys think about it before we move on to the matter of DC things. Basically, what Alexander Wilson is saying in this question is that this new company that Discovery and AT&T are setting up, could it be that this is something that this is something they create to flip later, like you would buy a fix-em-upper and then sell it as a luxury house later on? That's the question. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Ollie, you there?
I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was deferring to you first.
I think it's going to be more so something along the lines of, I think AT&T thinks this is a good idea because they clearly don't understand the business. And we brought this up how many times, Andre? Many. And I think that they know that now. The reason Kalar did not know this was coming down is, I was going to ask you guys this too, and not to distract from the original question. I want to get back to it, of course. I was curious if you guys thought that a lot of this had to do with possibly the reaction Hollywood had to everything Kalar did in the last few months.
That's certainly possible. They see that they have lost acumen within the industry because of which I think that I kind of liked what they did to shake things up.
I do, to a point.
I do see the point there, because these are the professionals, the agents and everything like that. They're the gatekeepers. They're the gatekeepers that they're going to need to actually get the talent they want for the best content. And if they all decide that, you know what, we don't want to work with anything where Kalar is because he offended us, then
they lost Nolan.
They are in the wrong for that, for having that mindset. But still, they lost Nolan. They not lost Chris Nolan. He's no longer in the Warner stable.
And he's just one of many, yeah.
One of many that got Kalar.
And that's the thing is, everybody was heading over to Sony and Paramount, which is the last. Like, they were the losers the last 3 years. Like, you go.
If some rumors are true, means they're heading over to Disney. If Disney actually does acquire Sony, which is some rumors that we have heard in my time.
There's been a lot. It's funny you mentioned that, Andre, because that's the first time you and I have even talked about that, and I've been hearing some weird rumblings, like something's going down with, like, Disney's trying to snake up everybody they can right now. Like, they're after, like, if you're yeah, there's something's going on. I think we got to talk about that later.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Paulie, any thoughts on that? That AT&T and Discovery could have agreed, let's do this to flip it later as if it were a fixer upper.
It all feels like very Wild West, like almost like the .com, like you know, like this is all new, brand new territory.
Yeah, or rather, it feels like Game of Thrones is the well, I would use, but yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, you see where I'm coming from. You know, that's why, and I'm just trying to get caught up on the numbers, just as far as what some business analysts are talking about, as far as like, you know, how to save HBO now. You know, they're already like, that's the crown jewel. You know, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So I mean, I think there might be a couple things they need to do first before they, you know, want to flip it. No, I mean, usually before you flip something, you got to make it better.
Right.
Before you can flip it, you have to make it like that, because the way that I see it, actually. Well, Tom, you can go first if you want.
No, all I was going to say off of Paulie's point is, this is, to me right now, what I look at this is, and I get where the analogy is coming from, is you basically have Warner is the house, right? And Discovery is a whole nother addition you're adding to the house. But not only is that addition being added to the house, that it's almost like that addition is now going to be like controlling the rest of the house duties and activities.
So you're talking about foundation.
There you go. Thank you. Better. Yeah.
You know, and you're right. So it you know, because Discovery Plus isn't just the roof. You know, it's going to be one of the pillars. They're restructuring, redoing their foundation, and that'll help them you know, fix up HBO.
Well, and Mega Kurgan brings up another point here. Where are the anti-monopoly laws when you need them? I think this still has to. Did this actually pass?
Yes, this is something that we actually haven't emphasized enough yet.
Yeah.
This is an intention, but it needs to pass by the past legislation. So this is not yet approved.
Yeah.
The authorities should still go in and stop this all from happening. This could still be stopped on paper. In practice, I'm not so sure, but on paper it could.
Sorry, Andre. Yeah, according to CNBC, this deal, HBO was a crown jewel of Time Warner, which AT&T had recently acquired for $100 billion with debt. It took 2 years in a legal battle with the Trump administration to close that deal. So that tells me that things are a little easier under our current prez.
Oh, yeah, I think so too.
Sketch, you might be on. I think I might know what you're trying to say. And please forgive me if I'm wrong. It is kind of almost like moving the trailer park to the trailer, almost more so. Does that make sense? Like, because Discovery is going to be kind of just taking over things on the entertainment side of things. Because I think this really is more to do with Kalar and AT&T not knowing the game, and is despite like not to repeat it, but like I think Andre and I, when we said that, I think that's really what it boils down to, is he didn't know how to play the Hollywood game. And when you've got your big talent jumping ship and people going, we're not going to work with you anymore because, you know, you're putting our movies on streaming right away, and this is clearly all you're worried about, and you have no desire to make movies, or, you know, because you get a lot of people like they forget that it's show business and stuff like that. But that's where Andre's like, yeah, the shaking up was good, and it was good for the business side of things probably, but it wasn't good for the talent and the people who were creating the things, and those at Warner Brothers were probably freaking out and trying to do everything they could to get Kalar out of the way, because he was probably causing problems for them with the talent involved in making movies. And in this case, Discovery is talent friendly, and not only that, like we've been bringing up, they've got a real good inroad with just how well they've structured this, and that's why I think they brought this guy in. Is what have we said from the start has been a main problem of HBO Max, guys? It was one of the biggest snafus as far as launches, and then the structure of it is horrid. But one thing,
it's a brand confusion. You have so many different HBOs,
and then add to it the brand confusion. But one thing that Discovery Plus has done, and that's one thing we keep hearing when Paulie come in and when Lorena came in, and everybody's like, I have to have it because, and that's the thing I keep hearing from everybody who talks about it. And that's what makes the product, or at least in this case, the streaming service important, is it's not like Netflix or any of those other ones where it's like, hey, I like it. No, they need it because, like you said, for you to enjoy the show, and this is the gripe I hear from people, I have to have Discovery Plus too. So
I'm looking at my Discovery Plus interface right now on another window, just like reminding me the vast content that they have, but which is amazing, right? And there's something for the entire family. But no scripted or television shows or movies. That's one thing they're missing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we heard you just fine.
Yeah, so I'm just going through my.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many networks too.
Yeah, and
I haven't even touched on most of these. I probably 30%, and we're that keeps us busy, plenty happy every day. And then, but there's no scripted television or full length features on here, so that might be the compliment.
That's another, and there you go. That's a good point, Paulie. Is it'll definitely expand on that because Discovery only has their stuff there that's mostly non-scripted, no movies, none of that. So again, and the company itself is a huge juggernaut in the cable world, and they knew that this was going to be cable's dying, and that goes back to the whole I need Discovery Plus. That's what they want to hear. And that's why Warner is always trying to catch up with Disney when it comes to like the Marvel universe, because they see that and they're like, oh, people have to go see those movies. That's what they've been trying to capture, is that Kevin Feige has been able to, make you watch every single last damn thing, because if you feel like you don't, you're going to miss something.
Yeah. So the bundle pack. I mean, I'm as a consumer, I'll keep you guys abreast of what they announce or try to swindle our way.
So what else we got for super chats there?
Yeah, just getting back to the original question, which was about.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Which was about flipping it. I think that they're in the position where they can pick and choose. They now have to try to make it as attractive as they can. And then they have the option of either selling it out for a huge profit, or just keep it for the monthly installments of a subscription base. So I think they're in a really, really good place where they can just do their best, and then they can deal with that decision later on. Simple as that. And Etienne Falardeau wonders, what about sports offering on HBO Max and Discovery Plus?
I can't really speak to that personally. I wish we still had Culture here. He might know a little bit more. Paulie, do you know anything about is there any sports? I know Discovery, I don't think has much to do with sports.
HBO has.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go.
No, you go.
Boxing After Dark. I don't know with DAZN now being the thing. That's where like the latest Canelo fight that was on. It was on DAZN. I don't know what. Okay, let's back up. So they do have a big sports department. HBO.
Yeah.
Let's just say like that. I just don't know when's the last time I saw a boxing fight on HBO. I know they're still there. And I know that they're great documentaries on sports figures and like kind of leading up to the fights. So yeah, I think it'll expand a little bit on the, especially on that end, because Discovery, like to my recollection or knowledge, I don't think they have any kind of sports networks at all. Nope. Here's what they got. Automotive, science and technology, nature and animals, documentaries, adventure and exploration, lifestyles, paranormal and unexplained, food, home, true crime, relationships. Relationships and true crime are 1 and 2.
How to find a husband and kill him in 2 easy steps.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And if you ever want a true crime, deep dive, we'll bring on Mrs. Slant, and she will, just like Lorena, they both think they're detectives, and they will lead you through all the explanations of shit.
Yeah.
True crime is so huge that
Yeah.
Well, this is another great point, not to interrupt, but Randy Ramirez says TNT is WarnerMedia's hub for sports. TNT has the NBA, and they have the rights to the NHL, and TBS has always had big deal with the MLB too. Yeah, so that I think will also play into it. That's a good point, Randy. I know, Andre, you probably really have very little to add to this part of it, but yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, nothing.
I just can't imagine TNT. That would be, like, you talk about an uproot of something, to uproot it and just take it on a streaming service.
Oh, they'll never be able to do sports as streaming only.
Right, but so that's what I'm saying, is that I don't, because it's so big on TNT on cable, inside the NBA, then all the NBA games. I mean, yeah, I don't know if that'll be part of the equation there on streaming.
Yeah,
because DAZN is, your pay-per-view now, and like someone said, Canelo's one of the owners, I believe. What's his name? Oscar De La Hoya. Is Mayweather one of the owners? Someone in the chat, is Mayweather, or who's the guy I'm thinking of, guys? Anyways, that was a great.
But I think he might be.
Yeah, that was a killer. Killer fight. And you got to remember too, UFC is ESPN is ABC, so some juggernauts that they're putting up against each other.
And this is this is good for them at both teams, I think. And then going back to the initial question from before too. So we'll be, in the end, we can only benefit from more good content, and hopefully that's the case. And lower prices on more streaming services. So
then we have, moving on from there, Dash D says, for 20 Canadian dollars, thank you so much. Looking at Zaslav's life, and this then would be like the new leader of the newly merged company. He's been a leader, even captain of his school tennis team. He has learned the difference of leading a unit and being the boss of one. Also the difference in micromanaging and being responsible. And I have little doubt that he's probably an excellent leader. But the bigger question, though, is what kind of strategies will he implement? To me, that is the big question. Which people will he hire? And what will be his vision for the new company? He obviously has plans for that already, but we are not privy to those plans just yet. And that ties right in with Alexander Wilson's super chat. And he asks, what's going to happen to the Turner properties? Tom, any thoughts on that?
The Turner properties, they'll, as far as like, in what respect?
Yeah, that was the question.
They'll just be where they're at. I mean, this is just an expand their streaming service. I mean, does he mean like repeat the question then, because I'm not understanding.
Yeah, okay. The question is simply, what will happen to the Turner properties? Because at some point, Warner picked up Turner. Turner Media,
they're there.
And what's going to happen? Yeah, they're there. But that's like the point. They are there. The rights for them are included in this package.
Yeah.
But what will they do with them? Don't know. It's too early to say.
I mean, I don't really think they plan on doing anything directly to like change or move or do anything like that. They'll keep, the best way I can answer the question is I think they'll restructure HBO Max a little bit, but I think that'll be more on the technical side of things. As far as the actual content, I don't think the content is going to change too much across the board outside of maybe some synergy between the cable channels. and some other things. I mean, you'll see like a lot of things that will be cross promotion and stuff like that. But I think Discovery knows and they've proven that they're smart enough in what they've been doing so far, and that's why I think they're being brought into this deal. Is because that AT&T is like, we have no fucking clue what we're doing. All we're seeing is the Snyder cut this, and then we got the other people over here saying we're not virtue signaling enough with this diversity, that, and they're like, fuck, we're just done with it. Get somebody in here who understands this shit, because we got everybody pissed off at us, and we don't know what to do because we don't understand this part of business. We're a fucking tech company. We're not an entertainment business. So I think that's really what this is about more so. I don't really think there's going to be like major mergers and it's all. I mean, they might cross over, but it would make no sense to me. I think all they're going to do is use Discovery's infrastructure to help restructure Warner Brothers from the inside out. And that means more people that were hired, or whatever people that were probably left from before, a lot of them are probably going to be gone. So I don't know. Because it's not really it's not like an ownership thing, right? It's just like a merger thing. And AT&T is still part of the deal. They're just basically signing. It's almost like signing over, your power of attorney. Is that a better way of putting it, Andre? Maybe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. That's exactly what's going on. So
yeah, no, I don't think anything's going to move or change. Yeah, but we don't know yet, right?
It can, but we don't know. That's like the thing. We only know who's going to be making the decision, but we don't know what they're going to do. We'll keep you up to date on that as we know.
Yeah,
more.
The short version of what I said is I think that AT&T just doesn't want the responsibility anymore of WarnerMedia.
And let's gradually segue.
Oh, Paulie did want to say something. I think.
Yeah, Paulie, go for it.
Really quick about with was it Turner Classic Movies? I just don't see them messing with that. It's kind of like the same thing with the TNT, because it's what they're just doing is talking about old movies and everything. That's kind of like the bread and butter of their cable. So I can't see them messing with that.
And then segueing from there into to the things that will take us further. Commandant VHS says, hopefully this event shakes up DC Comics. While Hypergiver 2 says, I know a lot of folks want to see the Snyderverse restored, but why not a new DCEU with Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and the DC animated universe as the roadmap? That is a good question, and honestly, they will do whatever the new boss decides that they're going to do. Question is, what do you think that the new boss is going to do where DC is concerned? Paulie.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is the question right there. Paulie, what do you think is going to happen DC-wise?
Black Superman will not happen. And I've got a little I have a little insider telling me that that Regina King is probably out of the running to direct, if they were, but that the bosses, that the AT&T bosses, they're not the new ones. They're not gonna keep it. So that maybe puts Black Superman a little bit more in limbo. But Regina King is set to direct Bitter Root, an independent black comedy. I was just digging a little bit, asking some people.
Yeah, nice, very cool.
I do what I do.
So that's
I'm not just a Latino guy.
we know you are so much more than that, and that's part of why you're running that thing. But outside of that, so yeah, you learned that. But what do you make of that little news bit? How does that fit into a larger context? What does that say about where they might be going?
I mean, in a nutshell,
yeah.
Go woke, go broke. I mean, I think they're done, right?
That certainly was the plan, because I would imagine that this is something that fits with what with what they were planning under Ann Sarnoff. Their plan was absolutely to go as woke as humanly possible. And then, although they probably weren't planning it, the result of that would be that they would go equally broke. But could those plans now suddenly change with someone new in charge? Will the new people running the show see that, oh yes, we need to go fully woke here because that makes great business sense? Or will they go in and change things? What do you think about that?
Well,
Sorry, I defer to Tom first, always.
Well, to kind of go back on the initial question and that, do I think they will change things right away? No. I think it will take a little time for any kind of change to set in, but
such a change takes 3 years. That's like
exactly, and not only that, they will sit back and evaluate for a little bit first. Now, that doesn't mean they ain't been evaluating this whole damn time. It could very well mean, and I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, so please I'm just speculating here. It could very well mean that they've been watching this whole thing going, look, you guys are a bunch of fucking idiots. You've got a built-in fucking fan base right here. And that's something that Discovery understands. And they're like, you're trying to gain this fan base that doesn't exist. Quit fucking doing that and cater to the one you got. And that may be where something like the Snyderverse becomes a thing again, or at least a continuation. And to go back to Nina's question that's right here on screen right now, does that mean Henry Cavill will stay Superman? Right now, no, probably not. But if they do get involved, and especially if they nix this whole Black Superman idea, yeah, probably. I think that's a good chance. Again, this is all speculating. It could very well be that they want to just go with the whole, nope, Warner Brothers is doing the right thing, and they're just to coddle Warner Brothers and come in and do that. I don't know. It all depends on what brought them to this decision, and the fact that Kalar is basically getting the boot behind the scenes without even knowing any of this shit up until the last minute tells me that there was a lot of moving and grooving going on that people had no idea about, and the heads just decided that it was better to cater to the Hollywood people than it was to making money, I guess, because that's really the decision they're making. I mean, if that's the case, then that means that no, this woke shit's going to continue. The DC universe is going to go down a worse road. And even go back more to that initial question, do I think it will have any effect on it? Probably not. They'll probably just let Warner Brothers continue down the same fucking path they're on right now, because they're probably in the same like mind when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because don't forget, as much as they want to deny it, there's plenty of people who have confirmed that they have a clear agenda to lean heavily into these politics now for some reason.
Yeah. What is disturbing to me is that Jason Kilar, he was heavy team Snyderverse, and he's out. Ann Sarnoff, she was heavy team Hamadaverse. Her fate is unknown. And then, of course, there's Walter Hamada, who was also very far from Team Snyderverse. And his fate is also unknown. I would imagine that probably not a lot has changed from what it was. I think that WarnerMedia, they are going to try to go as woke as they possibly can. But how far will they be allowed to go? Because what we kept on hearing from our good friend Mikey Sutton was that under the previous regime, as it was, if two movies, if the Batman movie and the Flash movie is the one that's intended to kickstart the Hamadaverse, that is the movie in which Ben Affleck will be sent away and replaced by Robert Pattinson. That is the movie that will launch all things Hamada. If those two movies fail, Hamada is out. Who knows about Sarnoff, but Hamada is certainly out, and so are his plans for DC going forward. We've heard nothing but nightmares coming out of that thing. It's not like there's a clear plan for it right now, beyond we're going to go super woke across all platforms, and then everyone will feel safe, secure, and represented. That we don't know if the new boss is going to like. If he's all on board with that, if he keeps the people that wants to do that, nothing changes. But if he looks at where the money is, if he looks, like for instance, the Snyder Cut, we've had like this narrative that it wasn't a hit or something. Bullshit, it was a massive hit. Relative to the money that was spent on it, it was a huge hit. Just look at the VOD numbers in China. Those VOD numbers are freaking massive. If they had put that in theaters there, if they could, it would have been a pretty sizable hit.
Well, I mean, the fact that it was comparatively streaming along with their first run films, I think that says enough.
Exactly. So that only goes to show that there's a market there. So it's going to depend entirely on what kind of understanding that David Zaslav, or whatever his name was, is going to bring to the picture. Does he understand the world of DC? Or better yet, does he understand reading numbers? Does he understand reading the numbers for how much was spent on the Snyder Cut versus how it cost, and compare that with the cost and income ratio for Wonder Woman 84 and Birds of Prey, which are like the representative of what the Snyderverse wants to do. Is he able to read and compare them? If he is, he might make changes. He really might. But then again, if he's also all on board with the woke thing, of course, then he's determined to make the whole thing crash and burn. But you have the hope. Now you're in a position where you can hope that he actually knows how to read numbers, and he can make some changes before they go really off the deep end. He has that power. Like, he's not going to fundamentally change the deal with J.J. Abrams, because that deal is already there. It's signed. If they don't execute it, they have to buy them out. That's going to cost many hundreds of millions more. So it's not going to be any changes in the next few years. But what happens beyond that, that's anyone's guess. Right now, I think it's a little bit of chaos, and no one really knows.
Yeah. And as far as the effect on DC Universe, it could go both ways. It'd be interesting to see. What else we got for Super Chats? Unless, Paulie, did you have anything more to add to that?
Paulie had to
check out. Okay.
Leave for a moment, had to check out for a moment there.
Right.
So yeah, let's head back into some more of the Super Chats. And again, these are classic Super Chats that I can't bring up on screen. So you're just going to have to listen as I read it. Next one is from Slade Wilson on a related matter, who says, given JJ's and Kurtzman's history, do you think AT&T will change any of the plans involving them? And as I just said, no, those plans are already signed. They inherited them, but they still have to honor them. The only way out of those plans is probably to buy them out. And then it's probably just going to be cheaper to let J.J. Abrams have his way at this point. They don't have Kurtzman, though. Kurtzman, he's locked up with Viacom CBS and Paramount Plus. For now. Emphasis on for now. But JJ, he's gonna be able to make exactly what he wants. So I don't think that anything is really gonna happen with J.J. Abrams' Black Superman. I think that's gonna continue, because he's gonna say, look, this is part of my contract. This is a contract that you paid $500 million for. You want to pay me an additional $400 million not to make it? Be my guest. And then I think they have no other choice but to honor it. So I think we're still going to get the Black Superman. We're still going to get the Black Southeast Asian Constantine. Beyond that, we don't know, because JJ himself, he really hasn't been all that keen to commit to DC. We don't know that he's going to direct anything himself. By all accounts, it looks like he's just going to step back as a producer, let other people do the actual direction, and just sit back and take a huge payout. That's what it looks like to me. Any thoughts on that, Tom?
Well, I didn't hear the whole thing because I had to deal with something here. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no, that's all right.
And I just got back, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, well,
but as far as I know, you started off on JJ, and here's the thing: I don't know if you really want me to get too deep into this because I don't know if we still plan on covering a lot of this in a video or not. But I'll try and keep it brief so I don't get too deep into the weeds on it. But what we know so far, at least partially, what we've heard from the rumblings, is that Hamada brought JJ in because he wanted him to do to DC. Get this, what he did for Star Trek. This is why I keep reminding people that when they ask me, Doomcock, Gary, other people, like, why do people keep hiring Kurtzman and JJ and all these people? Because they're all from the same bubble and they all think the same way. They don't see Star Trek the way we do. So you see, they saw that as a success because the first two movies did well. The third one, he was gone on now. He had nothing to do with that. Plausible, like I had nothing to do with that kind of shit.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, and the same thing with Star Wars. He made the most successful Star Wars movie of all time. Period. Technically, the Force Awakens is the highest grossing Star Wars movie of all time. I'd have to check the inflation on it, but even with that, it's going to be a close run. Because that movie made so much fucking money, it's not even funny. And so he just based that movie alone, he could do whatever he wants in Hollywood probably for the next 10 years. Paul, you were going to say something to that effect. Go ahead.
I was just going to back you up. Those are unfortunate facts.
So yeah, in Hollywood, JJ is he's like, if you can get JJ in to do something, that's a big deal. And in this case, I think that luckily for the best case scenario we have, and I don't want to go too far into this, is if JJ really just loses interest. Because there is a reason to believe, or at least we've heard rumors. I don't know if you want to go on any more about this, Andre, or not, but like that he wants to do certain things, but he's not as into this as he is some of his other things. So we can maybe hope that his interest will wane with this and he'll find something else to do and he'll be happy just doing a few little things in his pocket universe. But Hamada really had designs on him taking over.
Yeah, and this is something that we learned exclusively from Mikey Sutton directly, and yeah, it's true. According to Mikey Sutton, Walter Hamada wants J.J. Abrams to do for DC what J.J. Abrams did for Star Trek, because in the mind of Walter Hamada, he did something awesome for Star Trek. Like, according to him, Star Trek was never better than when it was done by J.J. Abrams. And that is what Walter Hamada, the guy who runs DC Films, wants to bring to DC Films. Can you believe that? How incredible is that? Like, Paulie, what does that make you feel for the future of DC as it is right now?
I don't know if they're going to make money. So, but just like JJ's their Spielberg, they're golden boy. So he always makes money on that first one, right? Then it goes downhill.
Yeah, indeed. And also, I just sent the link to this to Mikey Sutton himself, so he might come and join us. So then we can hear from the man himself what he has learned about this situation taking place right now. That should be really, really interesting, shouldn't it?
Because this big deal may have a lot to do with this, because that's a lot of money. There's a lot of money that's involved in this, and that's kind of what I was half-assed joking with Culture earlier about, AT&T doing to Discovery what Warner Brothers did to AT&T, because what I meant by that was when AT&T took over Warner, what they did was they took over their debt. And Warner, even though they were, they're a big company, they had been spending money like mad. Like movies like the Justice League were a fucking disaster. Like that movie cost them so much money, and you can point fingers at everybody you want, but what it really boils down to is that the people in charge knew that the merger was probably happening and were spending money like crazy because they knew they weren't going to have to pick up the bill. And in the end of the day, all they were concerned with was their bonuses, and their bonuses were had a lot to do with them getting Justice League out by the end of that year. It didn't matter how much it made. It just mattered that the fucking movie was out. And believe you me, those kind of things are probably going to change going forward in Hollywood too. But I have no idea. That has probably very little to do with this part other than just the debt and what they're spending, and they're not making any money. Because HBO Max is not a situation where in the future, yes, it's going to be very profitable. But right now it's a loss leader. So I don't know if you want to comment any more on that, Andre, or if Paulie's back and wants to say anything, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I want to run through a couple of more super chats before we possibly have another guest in Mikey Sutton jump in. So for right now, we have, let's see here. We have Just Fountain, who says for $9.99. Thank you so much. Big for the past 2 years. This merger is one I can get behind as someone who mainly ID Science and Animal Planet on regular TV. Hopefully a lot of crap gets cut off. So Justin Fountain is excited by this. And yeah, I agree. Between Investigation Discovery, Science, and Animal Planet, there's a good package there. There really is. Joachim Stark says for 20 Swedish krona, I see your Oscar puppy and raise you asses war cry. Awesome. Also, the Oscar puppy has nothing to compete against that. And Diego Flores says for 5 Peruvian souls, I can't with Cultured's avatar that is like a L'Oreal magical girl with heart power level 2000. And if you go back into the stream, you can all see Cultured Casino's avatar. That's a thing of beauty right there. Cyber Soldier says for $5, what are the bets JJ's contract is going to be bought out, and announcements of Toby, Anna, and Walter are leaving after the merger? That's a good question. Paulie, you there? Paulie's
Yes.
not there.
I'm
You
here.
are there. Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any possibility at all that J.J. Abrams' contract is going to be bought out, and we will hear that Toby Emmerich, Anna Sarnoff, and Walter Hamada will be leaving after the merger, meaning a complete change in guard for DC on film? You think there's any chance of that happening?
No.
Tom, do you think there's any chance of that happening?
Probably not.
I agree. There is no chance of that happening. We should be so lucky.
Yeah. Like that sounds lovely, but maybe if one of those people. But
We're not that lucky. But I can tell you this though: Hamada or Emmerich, he's already on his way out the door. He's working to get a deal set up with Netflix. On Sarnoff, that's a question. And Walter Hamada, I still think it's going to depend entirely on how the Batman and the Flash movie performs. If they don't work, that means that everything that he has planned isn't going to work. Then he's out the door, no matter what happens. But I don't know that he's going to be out the door before then, unless the new guys in charge take a look at what he's doing and decide that we have no faith in this. That could happen. But J.J. Abrams being bought out, No, you don't buy out J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot. They have too much clout in the industry. If anyone was going to do that, it was Jason Killar, because he doesn't care about treating the powers that be in the industry with the proper respect. This new guy, he does. So J.J. Abrams will be given anything he wants. So no, zero chance of that happening. And then our good friend Mexican Iron Man says for $19.99. Whoa, thank you so much. Never been more happy to hear this announcement today. Thank you, Lorena. Thank you, Culture. Hats off to my PhD of Entertainment pros, Tom and Andre. Hail to the great mods and the awesome stream peeps. Yes, indeed. Hail to you also, Mike. Hail to everyone.
I don't know if you were here yet, Paulie.
Chopped chorizo there.
We can make a taco.
Anytime.
Awesome. And yes, we all love Mexican Iron Man because everybody needs a little Mexican Iron Man in their life.
Yes, everyone does indeed. And then Doc Tainted says for $20, thank you so much. Group consensus between the call. How do you guys like restore the Snyderverse, release the Ayer cut, and make the Batfleck movie? So presumably, how do we like those hashtag campaigns? Polly, how do you like restore the Snyderverse, release the Ayer cut, and make the Batfleck movie?
Well, recently on the Latino Slant, I had actress Chelsea Rendon, who was in Ayer's The Tax Collector. And we brought that up, and she says it's never going to happen as far as an Ayer cut, and he's moved on. I like the hashtags, but that's and she's worked with David on a few movies already. I say let's get him on Midnight's Edge, and then we can talk to him.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'm a big fan of the movements. Don't know it's going to happen. And it's a shame because the Ayer cut of Snyder Cut, I still say that if they were to decide right now in this moment, okay, let's do it, they could have it out. Well, they could no longer have it out by the end of May, but they could certainly have it by the beginning of June because it doesn't require more work than that.
But we have a very, very special guest with us right now. Please welcome the one, the only, Mikey Sutton of Geekosity. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for allowing me to come on the air. It's quite a day, huh?
Yes, it is indeed. Hey, Mikey, how's it going? Everyone, to those that might be in doubt, this is Mikey Sutton of Geekosity magazine fame. Famous scooper, journalist, and the source of many of our correct DC scoops.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, May 7, I discussed Toby Emmerich with, trying to get that Netflix job. And I discussed the ramifications of it. And it's funny because no one really paid attention to the article, right? And now, after what just happened, it's it's becoming truly relevant now. There was something going on back then because people were afraid, Andre. There was something was going on, and I wasn't told what it was.
I remember you told me. You told me because we had to speak. We had an off-camera conversation.
Yeah.
In which you told us about the Snyder information that we already put up on a video. J.J. Abrams and Star Trek and how that influences Armada, as we just revealed right now. And even then you said something is happening. Something is causing fear and worry. And now we know what that was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Hollywood Reporter, I believe it was, I did them a Variety, reported late last night that there's panic in the air at WarnerMedia because of this. So that's what I was sensing on May 7th. I had no idea what was going on. But there was real fear in the air and people were afraid of their jobs. And Toby Emmerich was freaking out, obviously. But I said in that article, he won't be the only one who's gone. And look, Jason Killar leaving that was a shocker. He was the last person I expected to jump the ship. But I don't think he liked being demoted like that.
Yeah, no, we only as you know, we only learned a few actually during this broadcast that
Yeah.
he's negotiating for his exit package. Now,
Yeah.
here's the thing that I wonder with that, because we do know that to the extent of which there are anyone who was like Team Snyderverse, if you will, it was Jason Killar. And he's effectively gone now. We don't know about Ann Sarnoff. We don't know about Walter Hamada. Emmerich is probably gone, so
He's gone.
that's fine.
Yeah.
But then you have Sarnoff and you have Hamada, and the two of them are obviously Team Hamada worse, which is which you can also call like Team Get Woke, Go Broke, because that's their strategy. Go as woke as humanly possible and say it's safe and inclusive, and everyone should love this. How do you think that the new people in charge, more specifically David Zaslaw, do you know, and have you heard anything about where he stands in terms of DC?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I've heard since late last night, this morning, I was taking calls when I woke up this morning already. He is a very tough individual. He will not tolerate any of the incompetence we've seen from WarnerMedia. Almost had the Walter Media, but WarnerMedia in the past few years. And he is a straight numbers guy, so it's not like, we can't do this because I don't like it, or we can't do this because this director's fans hurt our feelings, and none of that garbage. So they're gonna look straight at how well the Snyder Cut did and what they need going forward, because the seriousness of HBO Max is on steroids right now. This whole merger is about competing with Disney and Netflix. HBO Max is not doing well. To the expectations of their shareholders, it's not doing as well as they wanted to, and they're worried about the future because they don't have the content. And I've been saying this all along, that where is HBO Max's content? I mean, Disney just like dropped everything on them a few months ago with all those like 10 Star Wars shows. I mean, it's ridiculous. They have nothing to really to compete against that. And all we've heard before is the Harry Potter stuff. But how many shows is that? I mean, will that even succeed? I mean, there's so many questions here, and AT&T is not pleased. And these are straight numbers people. They're in for the money. And if there's money left on the table, that's not going to stay there. I mean, they're going to take action. And I remember I've been speaking on various YouTube shows, and I said, because people were wondering, like, how come AT&T is not saying anything? How come they're not, hey, these are the real numbers, and so on and so forth. And I remember I said this a few times. AT&T are going to do something. They're not going to say. They're not going to put something on Twitter. They are going to make an executive action, and here we are. We're seeing it. Obviously they're not pleased. They're not pleased with what's going on.
Now I got to ask you, Mikey. When we've talked before, it's mostly been DC related, but this was something I heard back when HBO Max first dropped. As you said, where's the content? They have no content.
I
heard is they were so pissed because they were supposed to have 5 Game of Thrones spinoffs to help sell HBO Max, and those all fell apart except for the 2 they got going now, I think.
Yeah, and here's okay. I gotta bring this up before I forget as well. They have been. And I think I told you guys this when we had that private conversation. Speaking of content, they were putting all their bets on J.J. Abrams, right? And they're like, oh, J.J. Abrams will do this, and they really think of him as their Kevin Feige, and they thought much of the content will come from him. Well, he just came out with this interview basically saying he's not going to direct any DC movies. And I remember telling you guys that JJ's not fully committed to this. And what I said when JJ first signed, because everybody was saying JJ's going to do this, he's going to direct this, and I said no. He signed this deal because he's got his own IPs that he wants to develop, and the things that he owns, right? And he's not going to put all his effort into DC. So now in this interview, he basically said it. You know, by him saying he's not going to direct a DC film, pretty much tells you, like, read between the lines. He's not fully committed, and he mentioned his own ideas in there as well, his own properties. I mean, he's telling you, not in a straightforward way, but kind of read between the lines, way hint. I got my own stuff, and so these are things that AT&T will have to deal with in the months ahead. Because I think this entire reliance on JJ is not going to last. Because this merger, basically they're going to put the house in order. That's the whole purpose of this. Yeah, I mean, they talk about wanting to compete with Netflix and Disney, but Andre, Tom, a large part of this is about restructuring and organization.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I was kind of thinking. But before you continue, Paulie does have to check out here. Check out the Latino Slant. That's where you can find Paulie. Otherwise, he'll be on Midnight's Edge Espanol tomorrow morning. Correct?
Yeah, and pleasure, Mikey. Sorry I couldn't.
Thank you, Paulie. No problem at all. Great having you here.
Great meeting you, sir. Tomorrow on Midnight's Edge Espanol, we will be reviewing the first 3 episodes of The Bad Batch and a Danny Trejo Machete tribute. He just turned 77 this weekend.
Happy birthday to him. It was like everybody's birthday this weekend. We'll take care, Paulie, and we will see you later.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. So, Mikey, you were saying, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Yeah. So, by the reliance on JJ, I don't think it will last. I think they're going to find someone else, to guide, a lot of these DC projects forward and on a creative level. But I do have, while you and I have been talking right now, I just got some text messages. The day's been crazy. Like every hour, I'm getting something already. So I'm going to drop something to you guys exclusively right now, while we're on the air. I have just been told that there's gossip, there's rumors going around that Walter Hamada and Ann Sarnoff are already putting out feelers for other work.
That is huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. That's the end of Get Woke, Go Broke for DC on film.
Live on the air.
Their strategy was basically to take Warner into the direction of go woke, so that AT&T can go broke. That was seemingly their strategy. If they now have put out feelers for other jobs, and ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first, straight from Mikey Sutton.
I just got the text here. So the timing of this is crazy.
What was the term of that again? It was Ann Sarnoff
and Walter Hamada are putting out feelers. I've just got.
Ooh.
I got another text message right now from a different person who said the same thing. That
wow, that is huge. That is huge.
They're putting out feelers, so I have to delve into the accuracy of this. But 2 people have already. No, there's 3. I have 3 text messages here from different people who are telling me that they are already making calls, seeing what's available out there for them. So like they're getting their parachutes ready, guys.
That's amazing. And that only goes to show that they must have every reason to think that they're not going to survive the transition. Again, that only also goes to show that the new guy in charge over there David Zaslaw, he evidently must have looked into their plans, and he can't have been too impressed, as really no one who can read numbers should be.
Yep, exactly. I mean, here we are. We're not in their industry, and we're not impressed. Can you imagine these people who have really high standards, who break down numbers like experts? They're gonna look at this and go, "What the hell is going on?" You know.
And I was joking about the Game of Thrones references earlier.
You know what, Tom? It's happening. So.
Yeah. Tom,
well, in my credit, was half
about
joking.
Serious stuff like that.
Half joking, but the part I was joking about, I guess now is I might as well start looking.
Yeah, I might as well. But that's actually very interesting because this was kind of my hope. That the new guy would be someone who can read numbers rather than being an ideologue. You don't actually need someone who loves DC or even cares about DC or the fans. I mean, I agree with Gordon Gekko. Sometimes, for lack of a better term, greed is good, because greed means that you want money, and to get money you actually have to satisfy your customers. You don't satisfy your customers by doing what Ann Sarnoff was promising, or rather threatening to do in that Variety article, where she basically flat out said that, we're going to go super woke. It's going to be so woke you have no idea. and you all should be so excited about it. And this Snyderverse thing that you all want, that you actually support and that you get trending and stuff, we're done with that. But we got something else planned. It's so woke. How can you not like it? And that was their game plan.
Well, yeah, one of the things that when you and I had that private discussion, I was saying is that to AT&T itself, not doing a Snyderverse, like familiar characters and actors that are proven to be successful, ignoring that for unknown projects that might as well flop, like Our Man and all this other bizarre things that Hamada was planning, makes no sense. I mean, you have the Snyder Cut dominating your streamer. You're going to ignore all of that, and because you have some kind of personal bias against the guy, you don't like the fact that Donald Justice didn't make $1 billion. We're going to go ahead and do these little films, and hope they can make more money than the Snyder film would have. None of that had any real logic to it, but now we're seeing that AT&T is going to take action. They're not going to say, you know what, we don't agree with Walter Hamada. No, they'll just make it very difficult for him to continue on with the company. It's Game of Thrones, man.
Yeah, exactly. And also on that note, we have D. Matthews, who sent a super chat. When you play the game of shows, you entertain, or the viewers unsubscribe. There is no in between.
That's very true.
It's a very, very astute observation right there. And there is nothing else to really say about it.
Yeah, and I just got another text message. This guy wants to talk to me this week and give me more details on what's coming up at AT&T and WarnerMedia. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. Because this is only the beginning. It's only the beginning. There's going to be some serious regime changes here. Man, this is, it's not unexpected. I'm just surprised about how fast it's happening.
Yes, indeed. And it's probably only going to go faster from here, I really think. Yeah.
Yeah. These companies, man, they act fast. I mean, if they're on the top of their game, they feel that every day they're losing money every day.
Which is true, because they are. So there's nothing wrong in feeling that way.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see where this is going. But like I said, breaking news: Hamada and Sarnoff are putting out feelers. And you know when people do that, you know what's coming. You know what's coming next.
Yes, indeed. It's it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens from here on out, because this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah. And I have been a firm believer in the Snyderverse being restored, not because I'm such a fan that I have wishful thinking, is because people have been telling me this, that the plans are not solid. And now I know why they're not solid, because the people's positions are not solid. That regime could be on its way out already. And with them gone, the Discovery is going to look at all of this and say, hey, what's your what's your B plan for the Snyderverse? And it's not impressive. Like, oh, we have all these woke projects, means nothing to a CEO. Because they're thinking, okay, where is the widespread appeal of these projects? Because you want to get everybody. You just don't want to just focus on a certain segment of the population, which is probably smaller than you might imagine.
Indeed.
Especially for comic book properties, And so, stay tuned.
Yes, watch this space, indeed. So,
Yeah.
Mikey, is there anything else interesting going on that you can share?
Oh yeah, the JJ thing just came up today, and there are so many stories I had planned on writing last week. They're just becoming more and more updated now. One of them is this: the JJ's Black Superman film. That I was going to do a whole article on. I mentioned this on a YouTube show though, that Henry Cavill is still their main Superman going forward. That has not changed, and apparently AT&T shot down the whole idea of having this other Superman becoming the main Superman. They felt that you're taking one of the most recognizable properties and changing it for what reason? And so another issue that they had as well was that JJ didn't want his Superman to be in films that he's not producing. He's got this whole thing about him having some ownership in his ideas, and so he's very possessive that way. So there's no way they could even made this new Clark Kent be Clark Kent of the DCEU. So Cavill, his job is still safe. They just need to, give him big meteor projects. And I think with all the regime changes happening right now, I think we're going to see that accelerate in the weeks or months ahead. As far as his Superman is concerned, what came out today was something I have been saying for weeks and months now, that this JJ Superman film is an Elseworlds project. It's a standalone film.
Right.
And everything JJ is going to do is standalone because he's very possessive. And so people were freaking out like, is Cavill gone? I understand why there'd be that kind of paranoia because of what Sarnoff was saying about the Snyder Cut and everything like that. But Cavill is still Superman. He will be Superman until he no longer wants to be the character. But I doubt he'll do that. I mean, I doubt he'll say, "I can't do this anymore." He's not gonna hang up the cape. He just wants to get paid, fairly, and have more than just a cameo. You know what I mean? Let me ask you, Andre Tom. You're CEO of a film studio, and you own these really big characters, right? Let's say you guys are in charge of WarnerMedia, okay? You have Superman, probably the most famous superhero in the world. Maybe, I don't know, more or less Batman. I don't know which one's more popular of the two, or most well known of the two. What do? You put him on a bench? You know what I mean? That makes no sense. You
It
know?
makes very little sense, and yet that's exactly what they've done. And then they want to
Yeah.
subvert him immensely. So, yeah, good going on that.
Yeah, because what I heard last night was someone from AT&T is they were saying that, do you change Ronald McDonald? Do you change Mickey Mouse? I mean, these are characters that every age group knows. And it just ruins the whole licensing when you change them like that. And so, it's an Elseworlds project. It's all it's going to be, and I sincerely doubt that they'll get as much from JJ as they want to. And he's already put it out in public right now that he's got his own ideas that he wants to put forth. He didn't sign this deal to do other people's properties. I mean, he'll produce, but he's gonna have his limits, and he's not gonna get stretched too thin. So going forward, I do expect the Snyderverse to be restored, and I think we will get less of these Hamada projects that we have seen so far, because I don't think he'll be there for very long anyway. I mean, if he's putting out feelers now, he knows Doomsday is coming.
But the Flash movie, the movie that was intended to start the whole Hamada-verse, that's filming right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you anticipate any changes to be made to it?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I don't think I even discussed this with you too. A week or so ago, one of the changes that they were ordered to make, because initially I scooped that the Flash film would erase the Snyderverse from existence. They were gonna do a little tweaking on the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, where that world is destroyed and the Ben Affleck Batman dies. I've heard that that's completely changed now. That's not going to be in the film, and I heard that last week or so. So we are already starting to see some changes already. Like AT&T was already starting to put their foot down before all this. And what I heard, the reason why the Ben Affleck death wasn't going to happen is because AT&T wants to do some HBO Max projects with him. Like there is a Ben Affleck Batman series for HBO Max that will be inspired by the Arkham Knight video game. It won't be an adaptation of it, but it's inspired by it. And they want Affleck aboard. So how can you have Affleck killed off in the Flash and then him appearing on these shows? And so again, they're looking at the money. They follow the money. Like where is the financial reward of killing off his character? Makes no sense.
Indeed. So basically, it would appear that the plan, or that the emerging plan, is to go with the ending where Affleck's Batman lives.
Yeah, he lives. Yeah, and I heard that they were trying to give an artistic reason for this, saying that okay, he's not in the film that much, so his death will not have the kind of emotional impact that let's say Robert Downey Jr. had in Endgame, because that's what they were hoping that would happen. But that storyline was built over 20 films. I mean, Affleck's only been in a couple of movies as Batman. So none of that really made sense on a creative and a financial level. And again, it's one of those poor decision making from the Hamada camp. And I don't think we'll be hearing from very much long. They're just not impressed with any of the stuff coming out. And I was working on an article a few weeks ago. I never finished it, talking about how the Trench and the New Gods being canceled is a sign of falling dominoes, and his future is suspect, because why would those projects be canceled? I mean, Hamada was really into the New Gods, and the Trench was very close to him. It was a horror film. But AT&T said that, no, we're not going to spend money on these projects. And I'm like, that shows a lack of faith in Hamada, that they would not finance these films. Those were his pet projects. And I thought that was very revealing. They would take those from him. They just, took the rug out from under him. And then,
I thought so too, that they would just go and kill those two projects, especially New Gods.
Oh yeah, that's huge. Huge.
Indeed.
I think we lost Mikey on accident. Hey, he'll probably be back. I wonder if it was a hiccup. Hopefully he'll be back.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Here he's back again.
You go and do it. I don't want to.
Okay, I'll do it.
Musical chair game.
Sorry about
Mikey's
that.
back again.
I tell you, man. Every time I'm talking about Warner on a YouTube show, I get cut off or something. It's weird.
I don't know if that's a coincidence.
Yeah, should I be suspicious? Because I swear to God, it's always about Warner.
Yeah, well,
I don't have AT&T internet. Do you?
Wait, no, I have Comcrap.
Oh,
doesn't mean there's some van outside my house, like.
Hit him with the interrupter.
Yeah, the interrupter. See, that sounds cooler than Our Man, right? The interrupter. I mean, I would pay to see that.
That does sound like a good title for a movie.
That would be.
He's gonna mess up all your plans. He's the interrupter. Bad guys, watch out.
I get a nice dark comedy. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds in it. The Interrupter. That's smirking in his van with like tinted windows,
Well, while we got Mikey here, is there any other super chats that he might be able to help us answer, Andre?
I shall have a quick look and review if there's some super chats that Mikey can help address. Just give me 1 second here. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have a lot of material going forward.
It sounds like it. While you're looking there, Adam Wolford says, I just saw a post where Disney is going to bring more of the Star Wars Expanded Universe and Mara Jade into a movie with Captain Marvel, so they couldn't live with their failures. I think he's kidding.
Well, they are going to include more of the Expanded Universe, and Kathleen Kennedy's not happy with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She really wanted us to move forward, but at some point, there's only so much control she has over this franchise. Again, that's another. Honestly, I don't think she's gonna last.
Yeah, Michael Miller says, "Does JJ Films make it? His contacts halfway through." I'm not sure what he meant. That was probably
his contract is halfway.
Oh, contract.
Through. Yeah. Well, yeah, why wouldn't they? They paid a shit ton for it. It takes time for all of that to happen. And again, they didn't hire him for DC. It was they hired him to create a ton of original content. Yeah. Oh, and while you're here, do some DC stuff for us. Since you're here anyway. That's the extent of it, but that's not why he was hired. You haven't heard anything because he's developing a shit ton of series and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, he's
yeah.
Justice League Dark, and
Exactly.
The thing is, if you're a fan of the comic book, brace yourself because there's going to be some serious changes to his version of the property. You're going to have a Black Constantine. I heard that, man, this is actually, you know what? I haven't even announced this anywhere yet, I don't think. But he wants to make a female Spectre. I'm like, why?
Black Constantine and female Spectre. Okay, awesome.
You know, like why? Why? These things make no sense to me. Like, yeah, there you go. He feels that's, you know, it's like original by having those kind of tweaks on it. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. You know, so brace yourselves, you know, because you know whenever he's attached to anything, these characters will not be like what they are in the comic books. At least what you're familiar with.
Yeah, there'll be nothing like it probably. On that note, Warwolf wonders for $5. One has to wonder if DC Comics and movies will drop the woke crap now that AT&T no longer owns it. Honestly, AT&T was never the cause of the woke crap in the first place.
No, they never were. It was WarnerMedia.
Yeah, it was always WarnerMedia.
The
question is if they will remove enough of the individuals that enforced it. I think that's a bigger question.
Yeah, as long as when those people are gone, I think you're going to see less of that. Because again, they're just going to follow the research, they're going to follow the money and see, hey, what makes more money for us? That's all they care about. You know, they're not trying to make some kind of political statement. They just want to make their money. You know. But the egos of some of these people, man, you know, it just gets in the way. And you know, for these corporate people, no, they just want to get their investment back and make a profit from it.
Right. Jacob Romansky says, I never thought I would want accountants to run studios, but right now it seems only them can save IPs from being butchered. Hail, Mikey.
Good point. Thank you. And that's a really great point because, you know, these people know nothing about comic books, but they just know from the research what sells. You know?
Yeah. Oh, and that's the thing. Yeah, they don't understand, and they don't, and not just understanding the characters and the stories. They don't understand what makes them popular, which is even worse. And then John Apocalypse says, "Hey, Mikey, you know how woke is the future of MCU? Not to shift gears, but yeah, what's going on over at the MCU, or as Gary likes to call it, the MCU."
They're actually going in. There's like different directions they're going into. They want to explore different genres. I've been hearing more and more about the horror aspect that they want to venture further into. With, you know, I've been scooping Ghost Rider for the longest time now. I do have information I got just yesterday over the weekend actually that Moon Knight will probably, from what they've been hearing, be the most violent of all the Marvel projects so far. I mean,
how violent? Is there any hope of like it being TVMA?
Not that far, but they're gonna push the limits to it. And you know, it won't be like the Netflix stuff, but they are going to start developing MA stuff for Hulu. Hulu needs content, and so what you're going to see on Hulu are the more street-based characters. And I have been scooping for years now that the Defenders properties will end up on Hulu because they're just too violent for Disney Plus. So expect some of the horror stuff to show up on Hulu. So that's different paths they're taking there. At least, you know, with the MCU, Kevin Feige's got stuff planned until 2099 or some shit like that. You know what I mean? And he sticks to his plan, whether you like it or not. He sticks to it. You know, DC's changing all the time. They're so reactionary, guys. You know, it's like, oh no, Marvel's doing this, and we got to do this, and they are just grasping for a direction, and the direction is already like there in the comic books. See what's successful, but instead they let their egos get in the way. And so there's just so many problems there. I don't think Discovery. I think its merger is going to solve everything, but as long as Hamada and Sarnoff are gone, I think you're going to see a much better future for the company in terms of organization, especially. But to keep the comic book adaptations more faithful. This new gods thing, man, like AT&T was baffled by how it wasn't going to be attached to the Snyder Cut. They were really baffled by that. Like the Snyder Cut, everybody's watching it now. Everybody who knows Darkseid knows it from the Snyder Cut, but you're going to have a different Darkseid, and those things didn't make sense to them. And then they were asked to spend over like $200 million on this movie. And they're like, why are we spending $200 million or so on a film that has no connection to what we've had before? And so there you have it,
and I think we probably dodged a bullet on that one.
You did. You did.
I mean, Tom King, he is generally not regarded as the best Batman writer of all times. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I have never read this run, but I have heard very little good things about it. And him combined with Ava DuVernay taking on Jack Kirby characters. I mean, that does sound like a match made in hell, if anything ever did.
Yeah, and it would have been a flop. They smelled a turkey from a mile away. And they couldn't even get the script right, Andre. They kept going back and forth on the script. They just couldn't get it right.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I'd be more surprised if they could get it right by some miracle.
Yeah. And I didn't get the chance to see Yellow Flash's video on this yet, but somebody informed me that his opinion was, as far as the comics side of this goes, that this may open up avenues for them just licensing out the characters in the comics side of things. What do you think about that, Mickey?
Yeah, I've been hearing about that for a while now. AT&T was not into the comic book publishing thing. They just were not into it. I don't know how much of that will change now. We will see. We will see on that. There's always been talk of the comic books being farmed out, but the IPs, they need that for films and HBO Max. Yeah, but the comic books, I'm not sure.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like they continue to hold on to the stuff, and maybe make Superman, Batman movies, and all that kind of stuff, Wonder Woman movies. But then if IDW is we're going to do a Wonder Woman run, and they just license out the character kind of thing.
Yeah, it's still possible. It's still possible. I don't know how much the Discovery merger is going to change in that regard. We'll have to see. I'm just right now. I'm stunned at how quickly it's happening. They're going to announce this on Monday morning. And I'm really curious to see who's left. If it's going to be that quickly, where, some of these people are gone already by Monday. Who knows? I mean,
yeah. Well, in this, this first part of this dropped in the middle of the night last night.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I would say it's abnormal, but it really isn't. Because usually this kind of news does drop either on a Friday or a Sunday, or somewhere where it can generally get buried by other news, it seems like. because and most people aren't paying attention to this outside of the entertainment industry. They don't. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
But as far as the DC Comics thing goes, going back to that, that I think the main thing that Discovery is going to be overseeing is just the entertainment side of things, not the publishing side, obviously.
Yeah. So anyway, I have to go in a few minutes. I just got a text message from another insider working at WarnerMedia, so this should be interesting.
Stuff cooking.
Oh, that should be very cool.
Yeah. He sent me a text, says, I'm worried.
No.
About his position there.
Oh,
so.
no.
Oh no!
Sounds like similar conversations I've had before. But anyway, hopefully all well for him.
Yeah, but he said he's got. I got some interesting information to tell you.
Well, hopefully you can keep us abreast of that. And we always want to thank you for coming in, Mikey. It's
it's
more
funny,
than an honor to have you here.
Thank you. I love being here. And by the way, he's actually tuned in right now. I just wanted to say hello. I can't say his name, but hello.
Oh, okay.
Hello, mystery guest.
And we will keep our fingers crossed for you. Unlike certain other people, but we'll keep our fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. But if I hear anything, you guys, I'll tell you guys, and we can, if it's big enough, I can do this again. It was great. It's great being on here. So thank you for all the support.
You always have an open invitation.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, take care, you guys.
You too,
Take care.
I'll
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
Indeed.
So let's get to some super chats, Andre. I think we have a few.
Yes. Well, first I have to say, how awesome was that?
Mikey is always full of news. He always has something good for us every time we talk to him.
We started today with so many questions, and thanks to Mikey, everyone watching right now has so much more information. So that's super cool, isn't it? And with that, I'm just going to go and refresh here, and then we're going to go through the remaining super chats.
I think there was one earlier that I didn't get a chance to chime in while you're doing that. The one about, I think it was is it a good thing to do #Snyderverse, restore the Snyder cut, David Ayer cut, and stuff like that? Yeah, those are always good things to do. Let them know what you want. That's one thing we always hit on here at Midnight Size. We're not going to tell you what to do, what to watch, what to subscribe to, not to subscribe to, any of that kind of stuff. But what we do say is for example, when the Disney Plus thing was going down, is if you decide to cancel, just make sure you tell them why. And that is part of it. This is the same thing the other way around. The more these hashtags keep going, the more people like Discovery will be like I said earlier, why are you ignoring this fan base?
I can tell you with certainty that had it not been for the hashtag release the Snyder Cut movement, it would never have been released. It wasn't released for the fans. It wasn't released because of the movement. But that is what told the people in AT&T that there's demand here. This thing right here proves demand. And that is one thing that we can factor into our decision. So no one is ever going to release anything because of a hashtag that's trending. However, if it trends enough and for long enough, it can factor into a decision. And it can actually factor so much that it can sway that decision.
Absolutely. So yes, you had super chats for us, Andre.
Yes, I do. I'm just going to get back to exactly where it was we were and then continue in reverse chronological order. So going back to where we dropped off to begin with.
And Proto-Man, it was a bit of an expensive release, but it didn't cost them much more than a normal low-level superhero movie would.
No, it cost them peanuts all in all.
In comparison,
Yeah, I mean, and the Snyder Cut has been exceedingly profitable for them due to foreign sales, because HBO Max is not a worldwide thing, and where it's not available worldwide or internationally, they sell it to local VOD distributors, and they have to pay a hefty chunk for it. And the sum of all of those foreign sales they more than made up for what they spent. Not only that, they more than made up for the opportunity cost. So no matter what anyone tries to tell you, the Snyder Cut was a hit for them.
I can back this up, and I don't think you knew this even, Andre, unless you've been checking out the digital bits like I usually do every day, which I do suggest you do if you're a fan of physical media. Thedigitalbits.com does cover all that. And Bill Hunt said they have no date for the Snyder Cut on Blu-ray, and it wouldn't be for the reason you would think. Most people are like, oh, because it's an HBO Max exclusive and they don't want to let it out. No, the reason, I guess, is remember about almost 3 weeks ago when Warner shut down their production facility and they conglomerated with Universal to do home media going forward? They have no facility that can put out enough product in time for them to know when they can have this movie out on Blu-ray. The demand is so high for it, I guess. That's what Bill Hunt was basically saying. Like, I mean, they don't know when they can fit it in the schedule to get it put out. Like, they need a lot of them. Because as Andre was pointing out, in a lot of places, they don't have HBO Max, so it hasn't either been released yet, or they're only being able to see it in theaters, or they don't have a physical media copy yet. So and you can't always see, there's places in the world that don't have the greatest internet. So even seeing it in some kind of, like digital download situation is very difficult. So this is they don't know how to facilitate it. So you won't know a date until they know when they can make enough copies, basically. So there you go. I'm just
gonna go and check. Is it available here in my territory?
I don't think it's available anywhere, because that's the thing, is Warner handles all their own. It was
supposed to be released around
they
had
a date set up initially around this time, but I don't think they could stick to it, so I think they pulled it down.
No, because here in Norway it has the date May 24th is when it's supposed to be released here on 4K Steelbook and the whole shebang.
Yeah, we haven't had it.
No. The Steelbook, they say, is delayed.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Coming 5th of July. So
there you go.
Delayed.
Now, what I would do is take that as the possible date.
Yeah.
So right now, I would go with that, because usually that's all worldwide when they do that. Warner does all their stuff. Like, they used to do all their own distribution worldwide. That's how I made most of my connections through the video parts of it, is they don't deal with any dealers at all. They just do it themselves, but they shut down that plant, or that whole distribution part of it. So I have no idea. I don't want to say plant, because I don't know if they actually did it or how they did it all, but it's kind of messed up.
Yeah. It's messed up that they screwed themselves that way, because now suddenly they have a movie where the demand outweighs their capacity, kind of like the PlayStation. But it's neither here nor there. Uber B-Man says, despite Sarnov's statement about the Snyderverse, who is actually excited about their upcoming projects? There's no hype but for the Snyder stuff. Yeah, well, there's some people that's interested in Robert Pattinson's Batman. I am not among them myself, but I know there's some people out there that's excited for that. But beyond that, and again, also The Flash, but that's not because of anything else other than Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. Beyond that, who's excited for the other stuff they've talked about? I don't think very many, and I think that the people coming in, more specifically David Zaslav, I think he is smart enough to realize that their plans is a bunch of drivel, and that certainly might explain what we just learned from Mikey Sutton, that Dan Sarnoff and Walter Hamada are starting to send out feelers looking for other jobs. You heard it here first. Moving on, Dash D's says, I think I'm a German Shepherd. Okay, I sleep on the porch, missing a few teeth and can't run very fast, but technically still a dog. Well, kind of.
Hey,
so, yeah.
You're a pretty smart dog if you can send a super chat and type all that.
Yeah, nice going, doggy. And Alexander Wilson says, New York Times just broke that Jason Kilard is negotiating his exit. Yeah, we got that one earlier. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, because while we're live, like stuff like that otherwise we can miss until we're no longer live. And Mike in Ayers says, how can we use this merger to save Batwoman? Well, we can't do anything. That's entirely up to them. And then the importer says to Andre, Jason Killar just went ree. Yeah, he evidently did. And Dark Shadow 308 says, according to EBS, Black Superman is happening in the Clark Kent incarnation because DC is using that to keep rights from the families of the creators. Yeah, we covered this one before as well, and there very well could be something to that, but I'd have to look more into it. Granwasu42 says, for 10 euros, thank you so much. These mergers in entertainment are not so positive as everybody thinks. The variety of it will be less power, and the power will be even concentrated in fewer hands. Look at the Disney-Fox merger. And yeah, you are. That actually is a point that when you have like more and more companies forming into bigger conglomerates, the end result is fewer productions, not more. This is absolutely true. Unfortunately, situation being as it is, sometimes that's going to happen anyway. Like, for instance, Fox only sold to Disney because they were looking to leave entertainment altogether. So that regrettably was happening one way or the other. Not saying that's a good thing, but that's how it was. Stephen Otten says, remembering Bill Paxton on what would have been his 66th birthday. Rest in peace. It was never game over. Yes, indeed. Kudos to Bill Paxton. He is still missed.
Indeed.
And then I believe you got the one about Etienne Falardeau wondering what about sports offering on HBO Max.
Yep, we covered that.
Yeah,
so I'll take this moment to thank Douglas Nelson for joining the members. Thank you.
Yes, welcome. And we have some very exclusive membership stuff coming in the next few days, both live stream and behind the making of videos and Norse mythology. So some cool stuff for members to look forward to there. And Infinity Flare says, WarnerMedia owns CNN. How will this impact them? All I can say is unknown at this time. They're not doing great in the ratings, are they? Tom is not here.
I was muted. Sorry. To my knowledge, their ratings have gone in the shitter. Not that they've been that great anyway, but yeah. I heard rumors that they were trying to unload CNN, but again, this is not one of those things where they would just rather have somebody like this come in. And that may have been part of the rumors, is that they wanted somebody else to just come in and deal with all this shit.
Maybe this might have been like what we led up to. Like, CNN seems like a pretty good fit for Discovery, doesn't it? Although I do hope that they would make some editorial changes.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is this guy that they're bringing in, they're doing it for a reason. This guy is clearly knows what he's doing, and I don't know anything about the Discovery Network. I'm not into half their shows. I know like a few of the channels. But I mean, is Storage Wars on one of those channels? Because if it is, then clearly the guy knows what he's doing, because he has something for just about everybody somewhere on that network. And I don't know how overly woke any of it is, but like there's certain shows that I've seen that I know that are just fine and I don't have a problem with. So the guy just wants to make entertainment for people who are watching. If they're not watching it, it's like next thing. So that could be a very good thing for those in the Snyderverse who are fans, because there's clearly an audience here, and if he sees that and he wants to seize that, to be punny, hey, all the better for us, And there was a good point. I believe it was Proto Man who brought it up before when I put it on screen. It's like it may not have been, so I apologize if it wasn't, but somebody brought up, if, the guys, the accountants and all that kind of stuff who pay attention to the money are nerds, and that's a good point. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, eventually the bean counters are going to step in, and they're going to be like, where's my money? And we brought that up for a while now. And when the money stops coming in from all these other places, then who knows? CNN though is one of those things that it can be reinvigorated, and that's what this guy does. So if you want somebody to come in and do that, that's probably your call. And I think that's kind of what you were getting at too, Andre, was that it just kind of needs an overhaul, really, because CNN is just kind of a staple in itself, though. Otherwise,
oh yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, it's going to depend entirely on the strategy and the new management, because that's impossible to predict. But I would be surprised if they didn't make any kind of changes to it. And then Ron W says, could this be, I think he must mean, could this be AT&T not wishing to subsidize Warner's division and decided to spin off while it's like sometimes difficult to read this. Could this be AT&T not wishing to subsidize Warner's division and decided a spin-off will cause it to succeed or fail on its own? Partially. The bigger part of it is that this way they're able to separate into its own unit, which may have tax benefits, at the same time as they are able to strengthen the content by partnering up with Discovery, at the same time as they get a crap ton of money that they can use to repay some debts. So I think it's really that's the big thing there. And then Ben Graciano says for $5, Andre, what about report from Forbes saying new chair of SEC starting investigations into companies who don't have sufficient diversity programs? That's something that I'm not aware of the details of, but I do think that if that's a thing, should be fairly easy ways to comply with that, I would imagine. But again, I would have to do more research into it. Tom, is that something you're familiar with offhand?
That's a bit out of my purview on this at this point. What was the last part again? About the diversity
SEC thing? that they might be doing investigations into companies who don't have sufficient diversity programs.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Yeah, first I heard we're going to have to defer judgment.
Yeah, definitely going to have to look into that. I can't
research the matter further. Don't know offhand. We'll really have to look into it before we can weigh in on it.
And I just want to say this on that part, just like, yeah, I don't think anybody has a problem with diversity, or, especially when it comes to diversity of thought, but it's these kind of things that if this is true, or at least from the way you're presenting it here without any looking into it, it's more of the same stuff we're seeing with like the Imagine Tomorrow and all that kind of stuff. And if that's the case, then yeah, that might be bad for our entertainment, but we'll definitely got to look into that. We can't.
Exactly. And then David Blair says, do you think after AT&T and Discovery are one, there is anyone in Discovery that could run W and make less woke entertainment? Well, actually, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah,
David Zaslav comes from Discovery, and he's taking over Warner. And we just heard from Mikey Sutton, plus we read it there, that he is concerned with profit and efficiency, meaning not wokeness. So by all accounts, that's exactly what's happening. And then Aurora Uplinks references what we said earlier about how Walter Hamada wanted J.J. Abrams to come in and take over DC. Because Star Trek was profitable for one or two films? Oh dear. Oh dear indeed. But luckily, if Mikey Sutton's report or what he just heard here on air is to be believed, Hamada is looking for a new job.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. And somebody brought up the Ray Fisher thing. I wonder what that means for that as well. But no, like it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. I do feel like this might be good for the Snyder fans, though. I'm not trying to get anybody's hopes up, but after what we heard from Mikey and a lot of the moves that are being made, this guy, what was his name? Alex The guy from
Alex who?
Or who? What's
Alex
the guy?
Kurtzman?
No. The guy from Discovery that's taken over Warner. I forgot his name now.
Oh, David Zaslav.
David Zaslav. That's it. Yeah.
You weren't close at all.
Bleh. Yeah, I know, right? It was the Zaslav. I was thinking Alex. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But no, like I really feel like this. If this guy is as good as he seems to be at doing his job, like this is what Warner needs for the shot in the arm to kind of get him back in the game, because they were hot years ago. I mean, they were the top of the pop. I mean, that's what Disney was trying to be like, more like Warner for a while there, and then it just kind of Anyway, it
kind of just went, and then they all found their own ways of going to hell. But yeah. And then Aurora Uplinks also says, I hope that Jar Jar Abrams does a good job with setting up Kal-El's civilization up and does a good job with intro scenes to show us his parents. Well, actually, JJ won't have anything to do with that. He's just producing it, meaning he'll sit there, he'll look over the script and make sure that it hits this and that beat. But beyond that, it's actually Ta-Nehisi Coates, the writer and the as of yet unannounced director, who will be the one that you have to hope will do that. The only thing JJ will make sure is that it actually looks like a bad robot movie, that it has the lens flares and stuff like that. That's a big deal.
Donnie Pearson brings up a really, really interesting point that I didn't even consider. Discovery then will probably assume 50% ownership of CW with Viacom as co-owner. That's right. And not so much the co-owner part, but I never thought of this before. This brings Discovery into the network game.
Yeah, obviously, but not by 50%, because it's a 70-30.
I was going to say, I think it's more than that. Yeah, you're right, Andre. Go ahead, though. You know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. Discovery will be in by 30%. Yes.
But that still gives them, now this will be they're in the networks now, not just a cable company. That's the point I was getting to. Like with CBS, NBC, and all that kind of stuff, the big networks. So that's a big boost for them. That's an incentive for them. And then they can reinvigorate CW's staple of shows and stuff with their stuff.
Yeah, they can. Absolutely. And then moving on from there, Fake Name says, sick of these rich elitist twats who must massage themselves over how woke they are while they bend my nostalgia over and ruin it forever. And you are absolutely entitled to that opinion, Fake Name. I don't think that's unfair at all. And Harry Nice Guy says, JJ has 500 million reasons not to lose interest, presumably in the DC universe. But here's the thing. He was paid 500 million to do his own stuff. Oh, and while he's here, do some DC things. Whereas DC movies, he probably doesn't have the interest in spending time on them. If anything, it was going to be the Superman movie. But now we know that the reports that we heard, that actually we reported from Mikey Sutton like a year ago, that J.J. Abrams was thinking about recasting Henry Cavill. We know they're true now, and we know he won't be directing the movie, so he doesn't care that much. He's not going to spend that much time on it. And Warwolf says, no, we caught that one already. We asked that one to Mikey Sutton about if they will be more, if they will drop the woke crap now. So we got that one. And then Daniel Hall says the FTC/FCC have not approved the merger yet. In the current climate in DC, I don't think that is a sure thing yet. Yeah, well, we will see. And this is true. Like, this is an intention, but it's not a done thing yet. If it's going to be approved or not, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I think it will, though. I would almost be surprised if it didn't, because these are two companies that are basically in the same business. They just have kind of different content, and they create a new entity that they will both co-own while they continue what they've always been doing before. I would be more surprised if they blocked it than if it goes through. That's all I will say about that. Any thoughts that you have on that, Tom?
It may struggle a little bit, but with all the things that we've seen in the last few years, I have a hard time believing it won't go through, because they'll probably definitely use like the Fox Disney merger as an example. This is a little bit different than if Discovery was a much bigger company, maybe. But in this case, although Warner Brothers is probably benefiting more from this deal, Discovery is kind of like the little potato. I don't know how to put it, but they're the little guy here, but they're actually going to be a bigger fish in a bigger pond now with this situation. It opens up a lot more door. I see it as a very good merger for both companies. Actually, it does have its unless it really goes downhill, but hopefully it don't. So. But anyway, no, I don't see it. Only would be a big problem if maybe Discovery was a bigger company. I could be wrong, though.
We shall see. And then we have, let's see, Nightwish Fan 1991 says, WarnerMedia employees. Haha, I'm in danger. Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. Michael Miller says, does JJ Films make it? His contract's halfway through. Yeah, we got that one already. And yes, they will. Don't you worry about that. They will not be stopped. Adam Wofford says for $10. So I just saw a post where Disney is going to... Oh, yeah, we got this one too. The Mara Jade thing. Yep. We got that one.
Yeah, there was a couple we grabbed, I think.
Yeah, and then we have John probably had the question, and Super Blubberpuss says they're not going to drop woke. Hollywood has factored in the losses pushing racism, Marxism, and China. Well,
you're not wrong. That's the problem.
You're not wrong. The problem. I would like to say that you're a crazy conspiracy theorist, but you're not wrong.
No, you're not.
You are not. No. So it's not going to be gone. That won't happen under any circumstance. The question is rather, will it be pushed sufficiently to the back seat that it's possible to get some decent movies and adaptations out of it?
Right, because a lot of the things that they're doing, it's again like that goes back to my
and also, can you have some people that say, well, maybe this project doesn't have to be super woke, because that's also like a thing. You're gonna have some quotas that this and that has to be, but maybe some of our properties can get away unscathed. You can hope.
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to make some money somehow.
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And Warwolf says, I thought Ted Turner still owned CNN.
No, actually, not since the mid-90s. Warner bought out Turner Classic Movies and the Ted Turner Broadcasting. That's when they acquired TNT and TBS and all those, and then also included New Line, which Ted had acquired or bought into couple years before that, which actually, not to plug, but we had an interview a while back with Robert Shea of New Line Cinema, and I believe he discussed a little bit of that situation. So you should check that out, because Ted Turner is a very interesting man.
Yes,
so is Robert Shea.
Yes, absolutely. Do check out that video, which is basically our own masterclass in filmmaking. Yeah. Yes. Extremely rare interview. Even Robert Meyer Burnett was impressed that we were able to get him, because he wasn't able to get him when he did the documentaries for those magnificent Lord of the Rings DVD and Blu-ray editions.
Yeah, that was one of the first things Robert said to me. Besides, I love your editing. He's like, by the way, how the hell did you get Robert Shea? I couldn't even get a hold of him, and I was in the midst of making those fuckers. It's like,
yeah. So yeah, no, that was great fun, and he really enjoyed that interview, and it answered the question that he had always wanted on exactly how did he go about greenlighting a trilogy. So yeah,
that was the funniest story of all because it's the most simplest.
Yeah,
I mean, it has more to it that he didn't really get into too much. But what's funny is some of it was kind of a fuck you to Harvey Weinstein. Because Harvey and him would always be fighting over who was going to buy out what movies at the festivals and stuff. And Harvey Weinstein and the Weinsteins at the time at Miramax were invested in the Lord of the Rings, but they only wanted to make 2 movies. And Robert Shea's like, well, ain't Lord of the Rings 3 books? Why don't you make 3 movies? And he's like, fuck, if I could have made 5 movies. He's like, it's Lord of the Rings, man. It fucking prints money. He knew, he had the foresight to see it. That guy's not, he was definitely a pioneer, and we need more Robert Shea's because his whole idea is fuck it. It'll make money. He don't care. And that was the best part about it. You want the type of stuff we have now? Fuck. Go back to classic New Line Cinema. He wasn't trying to go with any fucking trend of this woke or that, any kind of thing that was going on at the time. He didn't give a shit. All he gave a shit about was, is it going to make money and are the fans happy? That's all he gave a shit about. And if those 2 things were met, then he was happy. And he has apologized for things that he felt didn't live up to the fan standards. So you also got to give him credit for that, So
Robert Shea is one of the best studio moguls there ever was.
Absolutely.
The entertainment landscape would have been much, much better if we had more people like Robert Shea running the show today.
Unfortunately, now New Line Cinema was just swallowed up by Warner Brothers, so they're just a label now, more or less.
Yeah, pretty much. But they had a really, really good run up until that time.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes. And then Adam Wofford says for $10. So with all of this going on, what do you think it may mean for CW? Will this change the channel and the shows on it? As of today, manga has outsold US comics. It seems people prefer good stories.
Well,
you know what? Let's not on the CW. Let's not forget Superman and Lois. Now, I'm not fully caught up with the most recent episodes, but up to where I saw, it was still incredible. It was better than any CW show has ever had the right to be. Maybe things are changing there.
That's what I'm hearing. I mean, but I think this could be a good thing for CW, as I was saying. That kind of goes back to what I was just saying before about it now bringing Discovery onto the network stage, because they have proven track records with shows, and I mean shows that people want to see and last forever. So and CW is kind of the perfect, almost the same kind of crowd to a point. So I think it'll play perfectly into the fact that there'll be a big synergy between the stuff that the CW offers and what Discovery kind of offers, and you'll get a nice kind of blend, and it may be a big boost for the channel. And again, it'll also benefit Discovery because it'll get their stuff out there to a wider audience. So who knows? But
yeah. And then
one quick question here. I seen Brian Barth. Weinstein still had credit on Lord of the Rings because he's still one of the producers. But what happened was New Line took over, and then it became 3 movies. So he still had a piece of it, but it was no longer a Miramax film at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not sure. I think Peter might even have had a deal with New Line. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah. Because he was developing a Nightmare on Elm Street film for a while too. Peter Jackson was for New Line, and I really would love to see a comic book version of that. That sounds like a great story, but I'm not going to get into that.
That would have been something. That would have been something. I would also like to see Peter Jackson's Tintin continue, but hey, that's me.
You never know on that one, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Polly over at Midnight's Edge Espanol says, "Hola chat. Espanol Sutton exclusive loading up now."
There you go.
So go head on over to Midnight's Edge Espanol and check that out for those of you that already speak or that wants to learn Spanish or just want to support the channel. That's probably going to be the absolute fastest video scoop on it other than this one, which is covered live.
Yep.
So yeah, very, very cool. And with that, Joshua Gonzalez wonders, what has Peter Jackson been working on lately?
I think he's been producing mostly. Well, we heard rumblings, and we'd love to get our interview out here soon, I'm sure, about from the wife of Neil Blomkamp, talking a bit about District 9 and 10. So I think he's producing that. and I think he's working on a few other things. But as far as directing, though, I haven't heard anything new on his plate. But you never know with Peter Jackson; he just
exactly. I agree with Nina Infinity, though. I still want that Tintin sequel to both of them. Both of them. I grew up reading Tintin, and that movie was really, really good. I liked that movie. Of course, there are many, many other Tintin movies, both animated, puppetry, and live action, all French. But that one was super cool. So, yeah, I would not have minded sequels to it.
And Thomas's favorite Peter Jackson movie is Michael J. Fox, Ghostbuster. And speaking of that movie, The Frighteners, it's coming on 4K, I saw.
I can't wait. I really liked that movie.
That's a good movie.
I really liked it, yeah.
But yeah, I saw somebody else said they wanted The Mask in 4K earlier too. If there's any chance of a New Line movie besides The Lord of the Rings getting a 4K release, The Mask is one of the next ones in line. So I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't happen sooner than later. I haven't heard anything, but just knowing that that's one of their bigger movies, and every time it gets re-released like 2 or 3 times on disc, so I'm sure it's it's not far behind here soon.
Yes, indeed. All right. With that, we are fully caught up on Super Chats and everything. So with that, I would like to say thank you to Cultured Casino for joining us today. Thank you to Lorena Criol for joining us today. And thank you to Paulie for joining us. And especially thanks to Mikey Sutton for joining us today. It was awesome to have him on and share brand new breaking news as fresh as it could possibly be. Because when he says that they're looking for new jobs, I probably started like the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's super cool. And also head on over to Midnight Search Espanol and be sure to come back in a few hours for Toxic Femininity, where we'll be where the ladies, I should say, will be talking about how manga is outselling American comics, and some American comic book writers aren't too happy about it. On the contrary, they want manga writers to be held to the same puritanic standards as American writers. So that should be a real doozy. Tom, anything else you wanted to say?
I just wanted to use this question here to plug a video for our buddy over at Retro Blasting, Michael, who did a video on a bit of what, entails this whole HD kind of revolution, and, how people are so surprised when things look so good in HD from way back. And they're like, well, it wasn't filmed in HD or for 4K. Doesn't matter. Actually, more like 4K was trying to keep up or get up to the standard of film. So it's more like the other way around, because Shum here says, does putting movies not originally filmed for that actually improve the movie? So you got to think of it as the other way around, if that makes sense. 4K was trying to build up to that quality. So and do yourself a favor, check out Retro Blasting. He did a video on that kind of stuff. And I'm sure there's some other stuff out there where you can kind of get up to date on what it actually means and what it's all about in the 4K realm of things. Because, I think that's the better way of looking at it. Because anything done on film is always going to look better in 4K no matter what, as long as it's been processed well.
Exactly. And with that, I believe it's time for some koalas in the rain.
Yeah, our koala was getting dry.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No.
Thank you, Natasha and the Wrenches. And thank you guys. Take care of yourself and each other.